Chapter 1168. Ding. Successfully accepted main quest, suppress evil spirit race, completely destroy evil spirit race, reward, 5 billion crazy points, 5 billion SBS, 5 billion mastery. Also obtain the title Evil Spirit Race Killer. While Yi Tianyun was shocked by this title, a new main quest popped up, that is to suppress evil spirit race, destroy evil spirit race's domain, which is the evil spirit race's residence. There was no main quest before, but now that this main quest popped up, it means that he has the ability to eliminate evil spirit race. This does not mean that he can suppress evil spirit race immediately. After all, having a main quest and completing it immediately are two different things. This main quest finally popped up. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. This main quest has not popped up. He knows that he is not in a hurry to find evil spirit race for the time being. Now it seems that the time is a little bit more ripe. Even if he faces the Lord of Heaven late stage, he can still suppress it. After all, this title has a 15 times bonus effect against the Lord of Heaven. If he uses the crazy damage mode, there will be a 64 times superposition. The two add up to 79 times the damage, enough to destroy the world. What's more amazing is that there are 5 high-grade heavenly path martial arts. If he cultivates it, it will definitely increase the damage by dozens of times. Even the high-grade reincarnation level martial art, violent heavenly secret art, can let him erupt 15 times the power, let alone high-grade heavenly path martial arts. It seems that I have to cultivate these 5 martial arts. I can't waste them. Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. He planned to cultivate here. The energy concentration here is not high, but the advantage is that he has a lot of time. 10 years here is equivalent to 1 year in the divine realm. It means that he doesn't have to worry about the changes over there if he stays here for a long time. On the contrary, it is an advantage here. It feels like time is accelerated. For those who want to transcend heavenly tribulation, it is not a good thing. For those who don't need to transcend heavenly tribulation, it is a race against time to cultivate. But most of them will not come here to cultivate. There are no resources here. Why would they come here? For Yi Tianyun, he still has a lot of resources, and cultivating martial arts does not require a lot of resources. However, staying here would only hasten the arrival of the heavenly tribulation. Even if he was unwilling to break through to the level of the Lord of Heaven, the heavenly tribulation would still descend after 1,000 years. At that time, if his cultivation was insufficient, the terrifying heavenly tribulation would probably kill him completely. 8,000 years isn't a long time. Yi Tianyun shook his head and turned around, preparing to go into seclusion to cultivate the 5 heavens path martial arts. When he returned, he would have to deal with all kinds of greetings. Tianyun was the god of the 3 realms who led them. Naturally, they had to come and pay their respects. As long as they weren't dead, they had to come obediently. On one hand, he didn't want to die. If Yi Tianyun returned, he would definitely have to greet him. If he didn't greet him and instead vented his anger on him, he would be done for. On the other hand, he wanted to see how Yi Tianyun was doing. He wanted to see how his overall situation had changed and whether he had become stronger or not. After sending them off, Yi Tianyun finally heaved a sigh of relief. Dealing with these things is really not my forte. It's been hard on you all these years. Yi Tianyun shook his head. Even though they were sincere, it was still tiring for them to come and fawn over him one after another. These are all necessary things. They are all loyal subjects, and accompanying a ruler is like accompanying a tiger. If they don't come and pay their respects to you, they would feel uneasy, Shi Shuiyun said with a smile. I know that. Yi Tianyun nodded. How could he not understand these things? Tianyun, what do you plan to do now that you're back? Shi Shuiyun asked. I intend to cultivate here so that I can make a breakthrough to the level of the Lord of Heaven. Yi Tianyun looked at her and said with a smile, very soon, I will be able to lead the 3 realms to the God realm. At that time, your cultivation environment will be greatly improved, and it will be much easier for you to make breakthroughs. Tianyun. Shi Shuiyun leaned over and laid on Yi Tianyun's shoulder. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's enough that you can protect the 3 realms. All these years, you have been working hard outside, but we can't help you at all. She felt very sad because she had been watching Lee Tianyun working hard outside. She cultivated like crazy. In the entire 3 realms, there were not many people who could be compared to her. But no matter how hard she cultivated, she still could not catch up with Lee Tianyun. She was already quite strong now. She had reached the 7th level of the God King stage and was ready to break through to the Earth Monarch stage. This kind of talent was very good even in the God realm. After all, the 3 realms cultivation environment was not as good as the God realms. How can you not help me? You should manage this place well, and it will be of use soon. Lee Tianyun's eyes flickered. Cultivate and strengthen the 3 realms, and then we will directly control a world. He had spent so many resources to cultivate the 3 realms. It was not just for nostalgia, but to cultivate the 3 realms into the most loyal soldiers. By then, on the battlefield, any expert would be able to guard a place. It was just like when he was leading a force. It was very difficult to succeed if he only relied on himself. Even if he used violence to suppress it without any subordinates to control it, everything would still be taken back. Therefore, he needed talents in this area. Now, he was constantly cultivating them. They would definitely be useful in the future. If he wanted to protect his hometown, he would not be able to protect it all the time just by becoming stronger. What he needed was the entire 3 realms to become completely strong. Yes, we will. Shi Shuiyun's eyes flickered with excitement. She also wanted to gallop on the battlefield. Then Lee Tianyun took out a pile of martial arts and resources and handed them to Shi Shuiyun. He started to cultivate. In fact, it was very simple. He just took out the 5 high-grade Heaven's Path martial arts and used the appraisal eye to analyze them. This way, he could easily learn them. It was much faster than him cultivating bit by bit. If not for the appraisal eye, no matter how talented he was, he would not have been able to comprehend these martial arts so easily. Time slowly passed, and he gradually comprehended the 5 martial arts. The content of each of them was shocking. Compared to the martial arts he had now, they were much stronger. Basically, he could discard all the martial arts he had cultivated in the past. It's about time. I've basically finished cultivating them. This world is really boundless. Even high-grade Heaven's Path martial arts are so profound. I wonder what kind of effects the higher-grade martial arts would have? Lee Tianyun stood up. When he walked out of the door to rest, he saw Shi Shuiyun discussing something with her subordinates. What are you guys discussing? You look so serious. Lee Tianyun walked over and asked with a smile. Tianyun, you're out. Shi Shuiyun smiled. We're discussing 9th younger sister's coronation as the Holy Maiden. Her prestige in the 3 realms is extremely high, and everyone is talking about her being crowned as the Holy Maiden. Chapter 1169. Yes, the Saintess of the 3 realms. Sister Jiao has been running back and forth for the 3 realms, helping many commoners and nurturing many experts. Perhaps it has something to do with her background. She was born poor, but she never forgot her roots. Instead, she saved the poor. No matter who she treats, she has a sacred heart. She is the kindest person in the 3 realms, so we plan to make her the saintess. What do you think? Shi Shuiyun smiled and asked. Lee Tianyun nodded. Jiao Lingyun's family background was indeed very ordinary, but now, her cultivation was not low. She had reached the God King stage, and she was also very friendly. She often helped people, so it was no surprise that she was promoted to the position of Holy Maiden. I agree, since it's everyone's request, then we'll do as they say. Lee Tianyun smiled and said, I'm not surprised that Sister Jiao received such recognition. Jiao Lingyun had always been nice to her fellow disciples, and she was even nicer to strangers. She had a kind heart and knew that kindness would be rewarded. This was all because of Lee Tianyun. If it wasn't for Lee Tianyun, she would have starved to death on the streets. All right, we'll hold the saintess coronation ceremony soon. After Lee Tianyun agreed, the decision was made. Even if he wasn't here, it would still be done. After all, Jiao Lingyun had the qualifications to do so. A few days later, the coronation ceremony was held in a grand manner in the imperial capital. All the experts of the 3 realms came to congratulate her. Whether they knew her or not, They all came to congratulate her. Most of the commoners came. Jiao Lingyun's fame had spread far and wide. Many people were helped by her, so they all came to pay their respects. The imperial capital did not reject anyone. There was no discrimination at all. Everyone was welcome to come in and watch the coronation ceremony. Such a grand coronation ceremony was unprecedented. Even Yi Tianyun's coronation ceremony didn't have so many people. It was enough to show how high her prestige was. It was comparable to a great emperor. Yi Tianyun was pleased to see this. It was all Jiao Lingyun's hard work. If she hadn't done so many good deeds and accumulated so much fame, there wouldn't have been so many people coming to visit her. Especially the commoners, who had gathered outside in circles. They may not be able to see, but that doesn't stop them from coming over to celebrate. The entire imperial capital was bustling with noise and excitement, much livelier than usual. Soon, Jiao Lingyun slowly appeared on the coronation divine stage. Yi Tianyun was standing at the top, waiting for Jiao Lingyun to walk over with a smile. Jiao Lingyun's eyes rippled as she looked at Yi Tianyun with gratitude. She did not expect that the person who would be holding her coronation ceremony would be Yi Tianyun. This made her feel that everything was perfect. At least in terms of glory, she had reached the highest level. Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, Jiao Lingyun, came in front of Yi Tianyun and slowly knelt on one knee. "Get up." Yi Tianyun gently raised his hand and let Jiao Lingyun get up. He looked at her ordinary face and said with a gratified smile, "Unknowingly, you have walked your own path and reached a new realm. I am very pleased about this. You becoming the saintess is what everyone wants." Jiao Lingyun's appearance was very ordinary. Even after breaking through to the God King stage, she still maintained her original ordinary appearance. But it was this ordinary appearance that became her trademark. Her appearance was very ordinary, but it always exuded a strong sense of affinity. It was more intimate than any beautiful face. "No, everything I have is given to me by Heavenly Cloud's great emperor. Without Heavenly Cloud's great emperor, it would be impossible for me to reach this point." Jiao Lingyun's eyes were full of gratitude. She had always been very grateful to Yi Tianyun. Even now, she felt that she would never be able to repay him. "Don't be so modest, I am just your guide. For you to be able to reach this step, it is inseparable from your hard work." Yi Tianyun smiled and said, "Now let me ask you, after you become the saintess, will you still maintain your original attitude and save the world?" "Yes, I will not forget my roots. I will always follow this goal and let the three realms coexist peacefully. I will make the three realms less and less painful and more happy." Jiao Lingyun said firmly. Whether she became the saintess or not, she would stick to this goal. "Very well, then I will now grant you the title of saintess, and you will become the saintess of the three realms." Yi Tianyun came in front of Jiao Lingyun, took out a crystal crown, and gently put it on her head. At this moment, the audience cheered, and the sound of cheering resounded throughout the three realms. With such a prestigious Jiao Lingyun becoming the saintess, it was really what everyone expected. Successfully completed Training Saintess Quest. Received 3,000 prestige points and Stabilizing the Three Realms achievement. Stabilizing the three realms. With the existence of the saintess, the loyalty of the three realms will reach 100%, and no one will betray the three realms. Yi Tianyun was stunned. He didn't know such a heaven-defying thing existed. Now that he had returned, there were indeed many people who admired him, but there were still many who didn't trust him. After all, they had only heard of his deeds and didn't know the real situation. Jiao Lingyun was different. She had been wandering around the three realms, and her prestige was even higher than Yi Tianyun's. Therefore, with her stabilizing the three realms, there would be no betrayal. He didn't expect to encounter such a special achievement after returning. Only with absolute loyalty, when one expands his power in the future, would his power be more stable. Jiao Lingyun was really a heaven-defying saintess. She really stabilized the three realms. He didn't know if she would be able to stabilize the celestial realm in the future. An absolutely loyal celestial realm was something unimaginable. No matter which power, their disciples would definitely be disloyal. Now that Jiao Lingyun was here, nothing would be a problem. Big brother E, I will help you. Jiao Lingyun gripped the scepter in her hand and smiled at him. No, I should say that we will all support you and work hard behind your back. You don't have to worry about anything, my sisters are working even harder than I am. Tianyun was very touched. Looking around, he saw Yi Yue and the others were all here, and Yi Qingxian was beside him. All of them were following him, helping him. Without them, the three realms would have been in chaos. Violence alone couldn't solve everything, it would only make things worse. I know, it's been hard on you all. Tianyun smiled and waved his hand. Rays of divine light appeared in the air, enveloping their bodies. They were extremely eye-catching. The three realms are glorious because of you all. The three realms didn't belong to him, it belonged to them. Chapter 1170. Since Jiao Lingyun became a saintess, the entire three realms celebrated with all kinds of celebrations and pardons. Everyone cheered for this, and after a week of celebration, everyone returned to their respective areas to cultivate. Many people didn't want to leave this place. However, they had their own things to do, so they had to leave and return to their respective areas. Soon, the lively three realms quickly calmed down, and life returned to its original state. Tianyun also began to cultivate, and after thoroughly understanding the 5 heavenly path martial arts, he was doing well in all aspects. In a blink of an eye, he had stayed here for several years. Every time he came back, no matter how long it was always the warmest moment for him. When he cultivated, he was even more motivated than when he cultivated alone. However, he couldn't stay here forever. He still needed to break through to the level of the Lord of Heaven. If he wanted to break through to the level of the Lord of Heaven, he needed to face the terrifying heavenly tribulation, then he couldn't stay here forever. After all, from the current situation, it was not enough to deal with the heavenly tribulation, he needed to further strengthen himself. Although he completed a lot of tasks and obtained a lot of crazy points, it was far from enough to level up. He still needed to accumulate a lot of crazy points to further improve himself. Tianyun, are you leaving? Shi Shuiyun felt something was wrong. Tianyun was just sitting beside her, and he didn't say a word, but she noticed it. Yes, there are still a lot of things to do. Tianyun smiled faintly, but don't worry, I can come back anytime, so don't worry about anything. With the teleportation god stone, he didn't need to worry about anything. He could come back whenever he wanted, but he couldn't bring people back. Unless they became his divine general, then he could use the divine general summoning token to summon them. Of course, he could put them in his inner world and use the teleportation god stone to fly away, but it was useless to bring them there now. He had some authority in the heavenly spring divine realm, but it wasn't much. Even if he brought a group of people with him, it wouldn't be easy. Then, Shi Shuiyun didn't say much, nor did she try to persuade him to stay. She just quietly lay in his arms, enjoying the last moments of warmth. Without any sentimental words, Tianyun turned around and left after a moment of tenderness, leaving Shi Shuiyun alone in the empty room. This scene had been repeated countless times, but Shi Shuiyun had no regrets. The only thing she could do now was to manage the three realms well. Every time Tianyun returned, he would see a brand new three realms. Tianyun used the teleportation god stone to teleport back to the heavenly spring god realm. The world was not in chaos. Everything was the same as usual. He had only disappeared for less than a year, so there was no need to worry about people looking for him everywhere. Unless he disappeared for a few hundred years, no one would be able to find him. A few years or even a few decades wouldn't be a problem. Just a little closed-door training would take up a lot of time. Thus, disappearing for a period of time wouldn't cause much trouble. Let's go to the three heavens divine realm and take a look. Tianyun didn't rush to cultivate or find trouble with the evil spirit race. Instead, he went to the three heavens divine realm. He wanted to find the three heavenly kings. They were the protectors of the three realms. Without them, the three realms would have been destroyed. He wanted to find them and see what was going on. One of them, the king of the heavens, was his ancestor. After deciding on his target, he turned around and flew to the three heavens divine realm. Since his identity was more valuable than before, As long as it wasn't a restricted area, he would be allowed to pass. Thus, it wasn't a problem for him to pass through the passages to other divine realms. After leaving the heavenly spring god realm, he boarded the spirit ship and flew to the three heavens divine realm. The three heavens divine realm was quite far from the heavenly spring god realm. Coincidentally, during this period of time, Tianyun continued to study the 5 martial arts manuals. Actually, he had already comprehended them, but he still wanted to study them. In his mind, he imagined how to circulate them smoothly. Stop right there. At this moment, a loud shout came from the front, causing him to open his eyes slowly. What he saw was 4 cultivators blocking his way. Their cultivation wasn't high. They were only at the 2nd or 3rd refinement of the Earth Monarch realm. Looking at their formation, it was obvious that they were here to rob him. Indeed, in the next moment, one of them shouted, "I opened this road, I planted these trees. If you want to leave, leave behind money." The vulgar robbery words almost made Tianyun burst out laughing. Tianyun flew out of the spirit ship and looked at the 4 of them. He said indifferently, "Where are the roads and trees here?" It was pitch black all around. Not to mention the roads and trees, there were even a pile of rocks flying around. Bullshit. The leading cultivator's face turned red and he shouted angrily, "If you want to live, leave behind all your money. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite." The 4 of them quickly surrounded him and completely sealed off his escape route. Their expressions were fierce and their movements were practiced. It was obvious that this wasn't their first time doing this. The three heavens divine realm was a natural gathering place for rogue cultivators. However, there were many similar robbers. In a situation where there were no resources, the fastest way to obtain resources was undoubtedly to rob others. It could be said that the three heavens divine realm was quite chaotic. This was because there was no region lord to manage it. The three heavens divine realms' overall resources were not bad, but it was much worse than other divine realms. At the same time, the area was not big. Therefore, not many people would take over this place. Especially since it was so chaotic here. If someone took over this place, there would be too many things to do. It wasn't worth it at all. As time passed, this place became more and more chaotic. Unless one was a rogue cultivator, no one would be willing to come here. However, the first-grade divine realm cultivators were still very willing to come here. No matter how bad the three heavens divine realm was, it was still a second-grade divine realm. The cultivation environment was much better than a first-grade divine realm. Tianyun glanced at them. He stretched out his hand and flicked it lightly. A shadow appeared in front of them. There were 3 heads on this shadow. In fact, they were the heads of the heaven-creating divine king and the others. These robbers must have seen a lot of people. Maybe they could recognize them. Have you seen them before? If you have, tell me. I can spare your life. I can even give you some compensation. Tianyun said indifferently. Damn it. Don't be so arrogant. We are not here to inquire about information. We are here to rob. The leader of the robbers was furious. Kill him. Let this kid know our rules. Immediately, the 4 of them roared and rushed towards Tianyun with their swords drawn. Kneel. Tianyun's eyes turned cold. The power of the title of the number 1 Earth Lord of all times was immediately revealed. Against an Earth Lord, there was absolute suppression power, directly compressing their strength by 1,000%. As long as the difference in heavenly energy was relatively large, the suppression effect would quickly reach the strongest. Chapter 1171. The power of absolute suppression made the bandits feel a sense of powerlessness. They felt as if their strength had been withdrawn. That's right, it was withdrawn. They felt as if they couldn't exert any strength. No matter how hard they tried, they could only force out a little. They felt as if they had turned into mortals. This was the power of absolute suppression. When the opponent's heavenly Tao power was much weaker than their own, the effect would be very shocking. Now the effect was very shocking. The opponent had lost the ability to fight and could not resist at all. Their legs were so weak that they couldn't stand. An unprecedented fear surged in their hearts. They had never encountered something like this before. It It was too terrifying. Even when facing the stronger Lord of Heaven, they didn't feel so powerless. After all, when facing the Lord of Heaven, they could at least turn and run. They didn't even have the chance to run. They directly knelt in front of Yi Tianyun. Their backs were already wet with cold sweat. What power is this? Their hearts trembled. They felt as if they weren't facing a hothead, but a nameless expert, and a very powerful one at that. I'll ask you one last time. Have you seen these three people? Yi Tianyun looked at them calmly. They looked at the image again. After looking carefully, they all turned their heads and said, "No, we haven't seen them." Rip. Yi Tianyun waved his hand and one of them was quickly killed. He turned into a pile of ashes, not even a drop of blood was left. This caused one of them to be dead. He turned into a pile of experience points. We really haven't seen them. They are not related to us. We can't hide it. My lord, you must believe us. The leader was crying in fear. He constantly begged for mercy. He didn't have his previous ferocious demeanor. Yi Tianyun waved his hand again. The others turned into a pile of ashes. He killed without mercy. I really don't know. I know a place that is good at finding people. The leader hurriedly shouted, hoping that Yi Tianyun would spare his life. Speak, Yi Tianyun said. Yes, it's the Moon Spirit Pavilion in River Basin City. They specialize in collecting information. They should be able to find the people you want, the leader said truthfully. Very good. Then you can die. Yi Tianyun pressed down with his hand and the leader exploded. He turned into a pile of ashes. He didn't need to use any powerful strength. Just the power of this title was enough to easily crush them. It really was that under the Lord of Heaven, everyone was an ant. First, the suppression of energy, then the suppression of power. Then it was the suppression of power. He didn't know what had happened to the leader, but he was already dead. He couldn't even say what he wanted to say. The leader didn't know how, but he died. The last thing he wanted to say. Yi Tianyun thought. The reason was very simple. These fellows were all vicious and merciless people. Leaving behind money to buy the way was basically bullshit. He could tell at a glance that these people were people who killed and robbed. There was no need to show mercy to such people. If they deserved to be killed, then they would be killed without mercy. River Basin City's Moon Soul Pavilion? It's a place that specializes in selling information. You don't even need to mention it. I will go look for it. Yi Tianyun waved his hand and quickly flew forward. Normally, if one wanted to find someone, they would either go to a restaurant or the Moon Spirit Pavilion, which was similar to gathering information. The Moon Spirit Pavilion would provide missions or collect information about many people, which could be sold for money. He had looked for these people before, so he wasn't surprised. As he continued to fly, he encountered several groups of robbers along the way. It had to be said that there were so many robbers on this road. When they saw him flying over, some of them immediately intercepted him. Just like the robbers from before, they all wanted to extort some money from him. Some of them were willing to spare his life, while others wanted to silence him. Who would have thought that there would be so many bandits on such a short road? It had to be said that the Three Heavens divine realm was really too chaotic. If anyone came alone, they would really be dead. If they showed their face, they would immediately become a target. If they were lucky, they would at most be robbed. If they were unlucky, they would be chopped into 8 pieces. Hence, along the way, he killed many robbers. If they didn't come close, he couldn't be bothered with them. If they didn't know what to do and came close, he would kill them immediately. After flying for a while, a huge planet finally appeared in front of him. There was no doubt that it was the River Basin City that they had been talking about. After flying in, he saw that the River Basin City was very wide. However, the cultivators here were very mixed. Most of the races were here. However, their levels were relatively low. If their levels were high, they wouldn't be here. Instead, they would have been chosen by other divine territories. Most of the people here were not very talented, and their race's abilities were relatively low. There were also people with special abilities. They didn't like to join other forces because they didn't like the feeling of restriction. It was a pretty good choice to be a king here. Hence, although this place was very mixed, there were also experts. Yi Tianyun glanced around. Among them, there were many Lord of Heaven here. As for divine lords, they definitely wouldn't run around the streets. At least, Lord of Heaven level experts were relatively common here. There were also many Earth lords above the 5th or 6th refinement. In short, the biggest problem here was that it was too chaotic. If one was not careful, they would die without a burial place. After all, there were no rules here. Once they left the river basin city, they wouldn't even know how they died outside. If they wanted to survive here, they had to keep a low profile. Otherwise, they definitely wouldn't live past tomorrow. This place is really mixed. Hyun glanced to the side. There was a strong man who happened to meet his eyes and immediately stared back at him. "Kid, what are you looking at? Believe it or not, I will stab your eyes blind." The strong man at the 4th refinement said sternly. Lee Tianyun couldn't be bothered to pay attention to him. He turned his head and looked forward. He couldn't be bothered to look at the strong man. He just happened to look at him. When the strong man saw that Lee Tianyun wasn't looking at him, he thought that Lee Tianyun was afraid and laughed loudly. From the initial robbers to the local ruffians here, he knew that the 3 heavens' divine territories were chaotic enough. The more chaotic a place was, the easier it was for a crisis to erupt. The heaven-creating divine king and the others were here. He wondered what the situation was like. Would they be plotted against by others? Thinking of this, he sped up and headed to the Moon Spirit Pavilion. After spending a lot of effort, he finally found the Moon Spirit Pavilion. Standing at the entrance, he was really shocked when he sized up the Moon Spirit Pavilion. The Moon Spirit Pavilion wasn't very eye-catching. It was just a small house. If one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't be able to see it. Chapter 1172. This is the Moon Spirit Pavilion? Isn't it a little too simple? Lee Tianyun knew that a lot of things could not be understood just by looking at the surface. However, wasn't this Moon Spirit Pavilion a little too low-key? If it wasn't for the simple signboard outside with the words, Moon Spirit Pavilion, carved on it, he wouldn't have been able to tell. He didn't think too much about it. He lifted his feet and walked in. The moment he entered, a rotten smell wafted out from inside. It was suffocating. Lee Tianyun frowned. Isn't this place a little too shabby? After he entered, he saw a small old man sitting on the side. He was holding a fan and slowly fanning himself. A cool breeze blew gently, blowing away the stench. This old man's cultivation was not low. He was at the 6th level of the Lord of Heaven, which was a pretty good level. Who would have thought that he would be dressed so sloppily here? He didn't like to bathe, and his body stank. He looked like an ordinary old man, but Lee Tianyun knew that he wasn't simple. He was a type of disguise that could make people lower their guard. In the entire Moon Spirit Pavilion, it looked like there was only this old man. There was no one else. In the entire room, there was basically only one chair, and the old man was lying on it. There wasn't even a table or chair. When he entered, the old man slowly sat up. The fan in his hand was slightly cold. With his cultivation, he was basically impervious to fire and water. How could he still feel hot? But he liked this feeling, so he kept waving his fan. "Oh, are you here to accept a mission or to ask for information?" the old man asked slowly. "I'm here to ask for information." Lee Tianyun didn't suspect that the old man was a liar. With his cultivation, it would be a waste of his talent. It would be better for him to join a decent power. He believed that the robbers from before wouldn't lie. They were on the verge of death, so it was impossible for them to lie. If you want information about cultivators, you need a mid-grade reincarnation level weapon. If you want information about treasures, you need 2 mid-grade reincarnation level weapons. Forget it, it's too troublesome. I'm too lazy to explain. Just tell me what you want to know. The old man lazily lay back down, looking even more casual. "I want to ask about the situation of these 3 people. I wonder where they appeared." Lee Tianyun released the appearance of the 3 people for the old man to see. The old man casually glanced at them and said slowly, "3 people? Then I'll need 3 medium-grade reincarnation-level weapons. Deliver them first." Without saying a word, Lee Tianyun threw out 3 mid-grade reincarnation-grade weapons. Although the 3 of them would probably be together, He still took out 3 items to prove his sincerity in order to get a clearer picture. The old man waved his hand and put away the 3 mid-grade reincarnation-grade weapons. He smiled and said, as expected of the genius who has been in the limelight recently. Not only did you complete the Heavenly Lord path, but you also achieved amazing results in the God Creation Palace. It's really surprising that a human could reach this stage. Tianyun squinted at him. Without a doubt, this old man was showing off his skills in front of him. From the side view, he could tell that this old man really did collect information, and he was very accurate. Now, he could accurately describe Tianyun's situation. With just one look, he was able to recognize him. Tianyun did not change his appearance. If he couldn't even recognize him, Tianyun really did not believe in the Moon Spirit Pavilion's ability. As expected of the Moon Spirit Pavilion, it looks simple and crude, but its information collection is top-notch. Tianyun smiled faintly and did not get angry. If I can't even do this, how would I dare to open the Moon Spirit Pavilion here? The old man smiled faintly and said, the situation of your 3 friends is a little complicated. According to the latest information, they were captured by bandits as subordinates. The 3 of them are quite capable, so they were immediately targeted and placed in different positions. If it were anyone else, they would have been killed long ago. The main thing is that they have some value. The old man flicked his hand, and an astrolabe landed in Tianyun's hand. He said, this is their current position. As for the latest information, I'm not very sure. This happened half a month ago. Unless there are major changes, you should be able to find them based on this. Tianyun took the astrolabe and immediately saw the coordinates of the 3 of them. Everyone's position was different. Thinking about it carefully, the 3 of them cultivated differently, so they would definitely be placed in different areas. He originally thought that he would be given a simple summary of the situation. Who knew that he would be given such detailed coordinates? This Moon Spirit Pavilion was really shocking. Its ability to collect information was really shocking. He didn't know where it came from. I'll give you a piece of information for free. The bandits are a big force in the 3 skies holy realm. They have many powerful Lord of Heaven and even God Lords. You can either ransom them or steal them. It's up to you. With your achievements, it won't be a problem for the Heavenly Spring Holy Realm to send some experts over to help you, the old man reminded him in a friendly manner. Thank you for the reminder. If I need any information in the future, I will come again. Tianyun was very happy. If he needed any resources in the future, he could come and find him. Thank you for your patronage. The old man smiled faintly and lay back down, continuing to fan himself. After Tianyun left, the old man smiled faintly and said, I didn't expect to meet the sect master's junior brother. Even though he's just a disciple, who knows what the future holds? I have to report this to the sect master. After saying that, he flicked his finger, and a crystal shot into the wall beside him. The wall trembled slightly, and for some unknown reason, the crystal disappeared. After Tianyun got the coordinates, he immediately flew to their location. Using the principle of proximity, he saved the heaven-creating Divine King first. The heaven-creating Divine King could be considered half his master. After all, he had received many of his inheritances. Xianlong Dragon Sect, if anything happens to them, I will definitely bury you. Tianyun's eyes turned cold. If anything happened to one of the 3 guardians, he would definitely vent his anger on the Xianlong Dragon Sect. He would bury all the experts of the Xianlong Dragon Sect. The Xianlong Dragon Sect was the bandit sect. It was a very shocking force. It was considered one of the bigger forces in the 3 skies holy realms. It had a wide range of forces. He was now heading to one of the cities, Phylong City. Chapter 1173. What are you doing? Hurry up and carve the divine seal for me. A whip lashed out and slammed into the heaven-creating Divine King, leaving a deep blood stain on his body. However, he was no longer called the heaven-creating Divine King, but Lord creating heaven and earth. How could he dare to call himself a Divine King? In this God realm, a Divine King could not be called that. Lord creating heaven and earth clenched his teeth, enduring the dizziness, and continued to carve complex divine seals. His current level had reached the level of a second-grade divine carving master. Logically speaking, he could still join a good force. However, he was too old and was rejected by most forces. After cultivating in the three realms for many years, it was not easy to break through to the divine king realm. However, such an old age was worthless in the second-grade god realm, and he would be neglected. In the first-grade god realm, he would be worshipped instead. This was a huge gap. He had been carving divine seals for a long time, and the consumption was astonishing. Every time he was given only a little time to rest, it was simply killing him. They would not care about Lord creating heaven and earth's situation, constantly abusing him and urging him to finish the work. In addition to Lord creating heaven and earth, other divine carving masters were busy here. These were all captured and constantly enslaved. Their cultivations were not high, and thus, even a slightly weaker heaven monarch could easily suppress them. Whoever dared to resist would be killed immediately. Unless they were particularly outstanding, they would probably be treated better or transferred to another place. However, those here were all selected and would not be selected into the preferential treatment category. Overall, they were too old. The divine carving master's level was not bad, but too old would limit their future prospects. From the selection of disciples in the second-grade god realm, one's bone age could not be too high. If it was too old, they would be directly eliminated. After all, first-grade divine carving masters were absolutely common. Even first-grade divine carving masters were relatively common. With a little effort and more time, it was not a problem to become a first-grade divine carving master. The problem was whether they could continue to sprint and reach the third grade or above. If they could not reach this level, they were trash. If their bone age was too high, it meant that there was no hope of breaking through, so naturally, they would not be recruited. Therefore, although many of the disciples in the God Creation Palace were first-grade divine carving masters, they were still young and had enough time to break through. The divine engraving masters that fell here were even more miserable. Which one of them did not have a bone age of more than 10,000 years? This meant that they had been a star venerate for too long, becoming even less valuable. A cultivator's bone age was highly valued. It wasn't that the older one was, the more valuable one was, but the younger one was. After all, in a young state, cultivation would yield twice the results with half the effort, and the speed of comprehension would also increase. At different stages, there would be different judgments. It did not mean that a 10,000-year skeletal age was weak. For example, who would dare say that an Empyrean with a skeletal age of 10,000 years was weak? He would still be a peerless genius. To be able to cultivate to the Empyrean level at the 10,000-year level, if he wasn't a genius, then what was he? When the guards patrolled to the side, Lord of Heaven and Earth's eyes turned cold. He nodded to the person next to him, turned around, and rushed forward quickly, dodging to the corner at an extremely fast speed. In this corner, there were already 4 people hiding here. It was obvious that this was planned. The guards have already gone out to patrol. They will be back in roughly the time it takes for 2 incense sticks to burn. Take advantage of this time to escape. After escaping, everyone will immediately disperse. Don't be in a hurry to escape from Phylong City. Hide in the residential area first. Lord of Heaven and Earth seemed to be the leader. He made a long story short with the other 4 people. When the time comes, they will definitely send people to capture us. The only thing we can do is to hide and wait for the news to die down. Or, we can take advantage of the gap and escape from Phylong City immediately. As soon as he finished speaking, Lord Heaven and Earth Creator waved his hand and all of them rushed forward. Everyone burst out with their fastest speed and flew forward at high speed. When Lord of Heaven and Earth wanted to escape, he was suddenly enveloped by a net, tightly binding him. He could not move at all. Not only Lord of Heaven and Earth, but the other 2 people were also bound. Lord of Heaven and Earth. They saw that the one who caught them was not someone else, but their companion, Lord of Heaven and Earth. He was the one who threw the net and caught all of them. You still want to escape? Lord of Heaven and Earth said with a sinister smile. Obediently stay here and become the bargaining chip for my freedom. Immediately, the guard sensed the situation and quickly rushed over. He looked at the situation in front of him and said, "What is going on?" "Sir, the three of them wanted to escape. I caught them and handed them over to you." Lord of Heaven and Earth said respectfully, "You bunch of bastards, you actually want to escape." The guard shouted in anger after hearing this. After saying that, he suddenly kicked one of them, causing his body to cave in and almost explode. "That's right, I immediately caught them when I knew that they wanted to escape." It is an honor to work for Sir, to work for Fyalong City. But they actually want to escape. Lord of Heaven and Earth said with a faint smile, "I also want to work for Fyalong City like you, as one of the supervisors here." Now they know what it means to be a bargaining chip for freedom. They are the bargaining chips. These people are very willing to help them. It is a way to show their loyalty. The guard looked at him from top to bottom and said with smile, "You are quite clever. All right, I will report this to Sir. You should be able to become a guard and be in charge of this area. There is indeed a lack of manpower here, but it seems like your ability is not bad. It should not be a problem for you to be in charge of this area." "Many thanks, Sir." Lord of Heaven and Earth is very excited. This is the result he wanted. He doesn't want to carve divine seals here all the time. The most important thing is that after carving them, he may not be able to survive. Maybe these people will be cruel and merciless and get rid of them. As for following Lord of Heaven and Earth's plan to escape, it seems feasible, but the chances of them escaping are very slim. Rather than taking a gamble, it is better to capture the three of them and show their loyalty. This way he can get rid of them. Facts have proven that his method is not wrong. He really made the right bet. Now it is your turn. Since you want to escape, then don't blame me for being cruel and merciless." The guard sneered. A long sword appeared in his hand and dragged the three of them out of the net, preparing to kill the chicken to warn the monkey. "Where do you want to drag them to?" At this time, a figure flew down from the side and blocked the guard's path. Chapter 1174. "Who are you? Do you know where this is?" The guard asked coldly after he calmed down. "Isn't this Fyalong City?" The person who arrived here in time was none other than Tianyun. He just came to Fyalong City and casually walked around to see if he could find Heaven Creating Divine King. He happened to see this kind of thing happening here, and after a little investigation, he found out that the person who was caught was Heaven Creating Divine King. "You know that this is Fyalong City, but you dare to fly here at will. I don't know who you are, but trespassing here at will is a capital crime," the guard said angrily. After that, the guard pulled out his sword and tried to stab Tianyun. Tianyun gave him a very bad feeling, so he wanted to kill him as soon as possible to avoid future troubles. Tianyun easily dodged the attack and kicked the guard with his foot. Boom! The guard was kicked out by Tianyun and slammed into the wall in front of him, creating a big hole. Even with the blessing of Divine Seal, it was still smashed, which shows how amazing the power of his kick is. Ding! Successfully killed Fyalong City Guard, obtained 6 compressed EXP, 2 compressed Crazy Point, 1 compressed Sin Point. Obtained Crescent Sword, mid-grade reincarnation level. Crescent Armor, mid-grade reincarnation level, 5 EXP Pill. After the data upgrade, the EXP data seems to shrink by more than half, but its usefulness has increased. 1 compressed EXP is equivalent to 100 billion EXP. 1 compressed Crazy Point is equivalent to 10 million Crazy Point. 1 Sin Point is equivalent to 1 million Sin Point. After the compression, the data is no longer so exaggerated, but the essence is the same. It's just not as exaggerated as before, but the effect is the same. Such a loud noise suddenly attracted the attention of the guards on the side, and they flew over. When they saw the intruder, their face turned cold and quickly surrounded the side. Rip! At this time, the solid iron net was torn, and the 3 people who were caught took advantage of this gap to escape outside. One of them stopped and didn't rush to escape. This person is the Heaven-Creating Divine Lord. He didn't escape with the other 2 companions, but chose to stand on the side. Heaven-Creating Divine Lord, what are you doing? Hurry up and escape. That's right. Hurry up and escape. It'll be too late if we're late. For the time being, the two of them could not be bothered with Earth Lord Tianyong. Although they were furious, if the guards surrounded them, they would not be able to escape. You guys run first. This friend came down to save us, so I can't run away. Lord Heaven and Earth Creator was still so upright. Compared to the other guards, his cultivation was relatively low, but he did not intend to escape. Instead, he hid at the side and watched the situation. They could only grit their teeth and flee. As they fled, they glared fiercely at Earth Lord Tianyong, already viewing him as their enemy. If they met outside in the future, they would definitely fight him to the death. It wasn't that they were ungrateful or anything, it was just that they felt it was more important to survive. It was true that Tianyun had saved them, but they would only be a burden if they stayed here. There was no way they could fight against the guards. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth was hiding on the side, watching Tianyun's situation. At the same time, he was also paying attention to Earth Lord Tianyong's situation, in case he suffered another sneak attack from Earth Lord Tianyong. I didn't expect you to have a helper. Earth Lord Tianyong had regarded Tianyun as Lord Creation Heaven and Earth's companion, so he sneered. But it will be useless soon. With so many guards surrounding us, it's impossible for us to escape. Is that so? Even if I die, I will drag you down with me. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth sneered. Then you can go to hell now. Earth Lord Tianyong flew into a rage and thrust his sword towards Tianyun. Immediately, Lord Creation Heaven and Earth raised his hand and shouted, "Ray rise." In the next moment, a ray of light suddenly lit up under Earth Lord Tianyong's feet, enveloping him and locking him in place. When did you draw this array here? Earth Lord Tianyong looked at the array under his feet in disbelief. He didn't know when Lord Creation Heaven and Earth carved this array here. You want to escape? How can you not be prepared? Lord Creation Heaven and Earth picked up the long sword that fell to the side and slashed at Earth Lord Tianyong. Earth Lord Tianyong's mouth was wide open, but before he could make a sound, his head had already fallen to the ground. Following that, his body exploded into a mist of blood. When Lord Creation Heaven and Earth made his move, he didn't hesitate at all, nor did he show any mercy. It was a fatal blow. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth was able to dominate the three realms, so how could he not be capable? When it was time to be ruthless, he would never show mercy. When Tianyun saw the situation over here, he smiled. As expected of an expert from the three realms, his ability was definitely not inferior to the experts from the divine realm. At the same time, the surrounding guards had already surrounded them, making it so that not even a drop of water could escape. There were a total of 5 guards, all of whom were at the 4th or 5th level of the Lord of Heaven level. They all rushed over from the side. You actually killed the guards of Phylong City. Do you know where this place is? One of the guards was shocked when he saw his companion being kicked into a meat patty. In the 3 divine realms, there was actually someone who dared to cause trouble in the territory of the Xuanwu Dragon sect. Wasn't this going against the Xuanwu Dragon sect? Isn't this the territory of the Xuanwu Dragon sect? It should be said that this is a place where a bunch of bandits snatch cultivators as they wish to do manual labor. Tianyun said indifferently, I don't have a Buddha's heart. It's fine if you capture others, but if you dare to capture my people, then don't blame me for being impolite. He wasn't worried about the Xuanwu Dragon sect at all. He was barefooted, so why would he be afraid of these forces? As for being found out that he was from the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm, he wasn't worried either. He believed that the Xuanwu Dragon sect definitely wouldn't dare to offend the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm unless they wanted to die. How many divine monarchs could there be in a small Xuanwu Dragon sect? There were dozens of divine monarchs in the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm. If they sent a few elders over, the Xuanwu Dragon sect would be completely wiped out. Such arrogance. Even if he is a dragon, when he comes to our Xuanwu Dragon sect, he has to bow down. When the guard sensed that Tianyun only had the cultivation of an earth monarch, he was instantly filled with courage and wasn't worried at all. He didn't know why his comrade had been killed. It was very likely that he had been careless or had been ambushed. In his opinion, it was very likely that he had been ambushed. The most important thing was to investigate clearly which force the intruder was from. In the three divine realms, there were quite a few forces similar to the Xuanwu dragon sect. Hence, it was possible that the intruder was sent by another force to cause trouble. Immediately, the guards surrounded Yi Tianyun, wanting to capture him. Just as they were about to charge over, rays of light suddenly flashed at the side, sealing these guards inside. Upon closer inspection, it was actually an exquisite array formation. It was unknown when it had been set up here, but it could temporarily seal the movements of these guards. From the looks of it, it was unknown how long it had been set up. Otherwise, it wouldn't be able to be used immediately. Chapter 1175. Friend, hurry up and leave. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth walked out and shouted hurriedly, "The imprisonment formation I've carved can't last for too long. At most, it can only last for a short while." When Yi Tianyun saw Lord Creation Heaven and Earth walking out, he smiled slightly. He had already seen that there was a formation here. He guessed that it was set up by Lord Creation Heaven and Earth. Sure enough, it was released to catch him off guard. It was not easy to be enslaved here and set up a formation while the guards were patrolling. No wonder Lord Creation Heaven and Earth stayed here to control the formation and imprison the guards so that they could escape together. "No hurry, I'll get rid of them now." Yi Tianyun leaped up and turned into a flash of lightning. The next moment, 5 clouds of blood mist exploded in the air. The guards didn't even have a chance to resist before they all exploded. Then, they turned into piles of experience points and rushed over. It was much faster than absorbing the water core. This power! Lord Creation Heaven and Earth sucked in a breath of cold air. He was stunned by Yi Tianyun's actions. Then, he smiled bitterly and said, "It seems that I've done something unnecessary. Even without this formation, you can easily suppress them. I've only heard of an Earth Lord killing the Lord of Heaven, but I've never seen it." He felt that it was unnecessary for him to stay here. There was no need for him to help at all. They could easily kill everything in a second. Then, his expression changed slightly and he said hurriedly, "Then let's leave quickly. If we're late, the Xuanwu dragon sect will definitely not let us go. These guards are the weaker ones in the Xuanwu dragon sect. They have stronger existences." But after saying this, he remembered Yi Tianyun's words and turned to look at him. "By the way, didn't you say that you're looking for a friend? Where's that friend of yours? I'm more familiar with this place. I can bring you to him. As long as it's in Feilong City, I've seen them all. I can bring you to him immediately." Yi Tianyun smiled and said, "You're the person I'm looking for." "Looking for me?" Lord Creation Heaven and Earth was shocked. He pointed to himself and said, "I'm the person you're looking for? No way, I don't even know you. This is definitely the first time we've met." "This is naturally the first time we've met, but according to the ceremony, I can be considered half a disciple of yours." Yi Tianyun looked at the Heaven and Earth Creator. Even if the Heaven and Earth Creator came out, his character would not change. He would not be tortured into a villain by this cruel world. To be able to protect the experts of the 3 realms, to be able to sacrifice himself for others, his breadth of mind had not changed. Half a disciple? Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth laughed. He waved his hand and said, "How is this possible? Your cultivation is much stronger than mine. I'm just a 2nd refinement Earth monarch. Looking at your appearance, you are at least a 7th or 8th refinement Earth monarch. Otherwise, how could you kill these guards so easily?" "3 realms," Yi Tianyun said softly. "The 3 realms?" Lord Heaven and Earth Creator jumped up and looked at him in shock. You came from the 3 realms?" "Yes, I've come from the 3 dimensions. To be more precise, I've come to look for all of you. The guardian of the 3 realms." Yi Tianyun laughed. This Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator still felt that it was very unbelievable. How could he not know the situation of the 3 realms? How could there be such a heaven-defying existence? Yi Tianyun grabbed him, stepped on his feet, and flew out of the planet, easily escaping from this place. After breaking through to the 10th refinement Earth monarch, He had the strength of the Lord of Heaven. His speed was even more amazing. Otherwise, he would not be able to kill them so easily. Let's talk while we save the King of the Heavens. He can be considered as my ancestor. Tianyun looked at the Lord of Creation Heaven's dumbfounded expression and felt that it was very funny. The legendary figure of the past showed such an expression when he saw him. You are the descendant of the King of the Heavens. This is incredible. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator was shocked again. He really could not calm down. The impact of all this was too great for him. What's the situation with you? After so long, don't you plan to go back to the three realms to have a look? Tianyun asked. Of course, why don't we go back? Before coming to the second grade divine realm, we plan to go back to the three realms to have a look. After all, we have not dealt with the evil spirit race. Who knew that when we went back, we would find that the three realms had disappeared? I thought that the three realms had been destroyed, so the three of us were very depressed. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator shook his head and looked at Tianyun excitedly. I wonder what's the situation in the three realms now? You must know. The three realms has been moved. If not, it would have been destroyed by the evil spirit race a long time ago. Tianyun smiled. So don't worry, the three realms is still fine. There are no problems. When I bring you back next time, many people in the three realms miss you very much. After all, you have contributed a lot to the three realms. Is that so? Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator seemed to remember the situation in the three realms and said happily. But the three realms is still here. It seems that you have solved the problem of the evil spirit race. We have been cultivating here for too long. We never thought that a year in the divine realm would have passed several years in the Fanyu. Staying in the divine realm for many years, it is difficult to move forward here. There are too few resources. Our talent is too low, so it is extremely difficult to improve. It was not easy for us to stand firm in the first grade divine realm, but the gap is still too big. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator sighed deeply, feeling as if he had encountered a major setback. They stood at the peak in the Fanyu, but coming here, they were nothing. How could they not feel frustrated? Tianyun nodded. He knew that this would be the reason. They were well aware that their cultivation was too low, so they had to properly cultivate in the divine realm. By the time they succeeded in their cultivation and prepared to return, 1,000 years would have passed in the mortal realm, or even 10,000 years. This was the terror of the mortal realm. No, you just lack resources. Tianyun patted Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator's shoulder and said in a deep voice, "Now, let's go and save people and solve this matter first." Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator said in a deep voice. They had been captured and enslaved in different places. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator should have been captured to forge weapons. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator's forging skills are very good, otherwise, we would have been killed. Tianyun's eyes were cold. Don't worry, I will make them pay the price. He felt restless in his heart. He had long wanted to start a massacre. If there was any accident, he would not mind killing them. We all have a grudge. As long as someone comes to invade us, we will fight them even if we have to sacrifice our lives. Lord of Creation Heaven and Earth Creator's eyes were filled with determination. He would never let any of the invaders go. Chapter 1176. Tianyun brought Lord Creating Heaven and Earth to where Lord Feng Tianyun was. It wasn't far from here. In fact, it was another city called Churning City. Churning City was more mature and didn't need so many God-inscribing masters to carve God's seals on it. Instead, they needed to constantly forge weapons to strengthen the guards. However, since it was the territory of the Xuanwu dragon sect, the treatment wouldn't be much better than Lord Creating Heaven and Earth. On the way, Tianyun and Lord Creating Heaven and Earth chatted a lot about the current situation of the three realms and their encounters in the divine realm. When they came to the divine realm, they didn't stop thinking about the three realms. Therefore, they kept cultivating with all their might. They wanted to improve their cultivation so that they could return to the three realms to suppress the evil spirit race. In their opinion, they had to at least break through to the Earth Monarch level before they could go back to deal with the evil spirit race. Therefore, they all broke through to the Earth Monarch level here. The highest level was the second refinement Earth Monarch level. They were delayed on their way back. When they returned, they found that the three realms were gone. This made them very sad. They had calculated the time, but the time difference was too terrifying. When they returned, they found that thousands of years had passed. They thought that the evil spirit race destroyed it. They didn't expect it to be moved by Tianyun. Churning City is in front. The security here is stricter than Fileong City. There are more guards. It can be said to be an important stronghold of the Xuanwu Dragon sect. There are many elders in there. Therefore, we have to be very careful when we sneak in. Before he finished his sentence, he rushed down, completely ignoring Lord creating heaven and earth's advice. What elders? What guards? They are all bullshit. Whoever dares to stop me, I will kill them. The most important thing was that he saw a shocking scene. It would be too late if he was any slower. At the same time, Lord Feng Tianyun was forging weapons below. There were cultivators in the same situation as him. They were all forging weapons. Fortunately, he had a furnace to supply him with. If he had to constantly release flames, he wouldn't be able to forge many weapons even if he burned himself to death. Even so, his condition wasn't good. There were injuries all over his body, and there were bloodstains that hadn't dried yet. This proved that he had been beaten many times. Why don't you try running again if you can? The guard at the side looked at Feng Tiandijun coldly, then he looked at the other trembling cultivators and said coldly, "If it weren't for the fact that you all still have some use, you would have been killed by us long ago. How could you have survived? You should feel honored to be able to work for our Xianlong Dragon sect. I didn't expect you to choose to run away. I'll give you one last chance. If you still try to escape, I'll kill you without mercy. If you sincerely work for us, we will spare your lives. The Xuanwu Dragon sect isn't so cruel and cold-blooded." The guard's words were truly laughable. Even if he wasn't a cold-blooded and cruel person, he was still an extremely domineering existence. Feng Tiandijun's eyes were filled with killing intent. He clenched his fists so tightly that blood was already dripping down his elbows and dripping onto the ground. His body trembled slightly, not because he couldn't stand steadily, but because he was too angry. He hated himself for not being strong enough and hated the Xuanwu Dragon sect for being so inhumane. Capturing people was worse than beasts, enslaving them all the time without giving them a chance to rest. Do you think I don't know the situation? Feng Tiandijun laughed coldly. After you're done using us, you will kill us without hesitation to prevent any future troubles. I've already eavesdropped on you. From the moment we were captured, we already had no chance of survival. Everyone, don't listen to these fellows' orders. Escape with me. If we continue to stay here, we will only turn into charcoal for the furnace. Feng Tiandijun turned his head and roared. He waved the furnace in front of him, turning it into a huge fireball and charging over. He wouldn't sit still and wait for death. He also knew what they were thinking in advance, which was why he kept choosing to escape. Be it now or before, he didn't give up on the chance to escape. Now, he wanted everyone to escape with him. If he was alone, it was basically impossible for him to escape. Most importantly, this was a situation where they would definitely die. If they didn't escape, they would lose their value and die. Don't listen to his nonsense. The guard angrily slashed his sword and cut the furnace into two. He was shocked and furious. Our Xuanwu Dragon sect isn't so cruel. Don't listen to his nonsense. As long as you sincerely work for the Xuanwu Dragon sect, not only will you survive, but we will also give you benefits. These guards were shocked and furious. They didn't expect Feng Tiandijun to hear their words. This was unexpected. They didn't want the cultivators here to completely rebel. If that happened, they wouldn't be able to complete their mission. The cultivators who originally believed Feng Tiandijun's words calmed down a little when they heard the guard's words. They were a little hesitant. They didn't know what to choose. Were they really going to fight their way out? They are the ones who are talking nonsense. Rather than being tortured to death, why don't we fight our way out? At the very least, we will drag one of them down with us. Feng Tianjun roared and threw the furnace out again. However, his cultivation was too low. Very quickly, the guard rushed over and slashed at him with his sword. A cold light flashed. Feng Tianjun hurriedly dodged to the back, but he was still too slow. His body was immediately slashed by the sword. Then, with a sound, a trail of blood spurted out and dyed a large area of the ground red. Feng Tianjun staggered a few steps back and almost fell to the ground. The sword on his chest made him feel extreme pain. Just a little bit more and his body would have been chopped into two. It seems like the heavens want me dead. Feng Tianjun looked at those cultivators and roared angrily. If you don't resist, you will regret it in the end. What made him feel the most miserable was that these people didn't do anything. It was fine if he died. At least he could awaken this group of people to resist. Who knew that they wouldn't move at all? They were like logs rooted to the ground, watching him die tragically. Those who resist will die even faster. If you resist, you will be going against the Xuanwu dragon sect. The guard at the side hurriedly persuaded. Are you willing to listen to him or are you willing to obey us? It's your choice. They could suppress these cultivators, but if they resisted and killed all of them, it would be troublesome. This was like killing all the commoners. Who would farm and build houses for the emperor? Could it be that those ministers would farm? These divine craftsmen were still very useful at the moment, so they naturally couldn't be killed. However, if all of them rushed over to resist, it would mean that if they didn't kill them, they would be killed. Chapter 1177. Nonsense, trying to sow dissension and inciting everyone to betray us. Looks like if I don't punish you, it will be hard to calm down. The guards closed in on Feng Tianjun and surrounded him. There was no way for him to escape. Plus, he couldn't escape at all. The difference in cultivation level was too big, and he was injured. He was already injured and now he was even more injured. He was at his limit. So dissension? Feng Tianjun found it funny. It was your fault for capturing us, but you said it as if you were treating us well. I hate you. I hate myself for not being strong enough to be slaughtered by you. He looked up to the sky and shouted. He felt that it was not worth it. If he had more time, he would definitely be able to break through again. But he didn't have the chance, and he was about to die. It seems like you still have a bit of self-awareness. This is a world where the weak are prey to the strong. If your strength is too weak, then just obediently lie down and do whatever I tell you to do. The guard laughed loudly. Seeing Feng Tianjun's resigned expression, he felt that it was extremely funny. What he found funny was Feng Tianjun's expression of despair. It made him feel very carefree. They liked to see this kind of expression of despair. It made them feel very refreshed. Only this way, they could make an example out of others and make them not dare to betray them. At least I am the master of my own life. Feng Tianjun raised the sword in his hand and stabbed it towards his chest. He couldn't control his freedom now, but at least he could control his own life. Even if he were to die, he should die with dignity. The guard's expression changed. They wanted to rush over and stop him. They didn't want Feng Tianjun to commit suicide. They had to torture him to make an example out of him. If Feng Tianjun committed suicide, it wouldn't have the same effect. However, there was a figure that was even faster than them. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the long sword that was thrusting towards him. He firmly held onto the body of the sword and prevented Feng Tianjun from thrusting any further. The one who stopped him from committing suicide was naturally Yi Tianyun, who rushed down quickly. He grabbed the long sword and threw it to the side. Who are you? You can't even commit suicide? Feng Tianjun was in despair. His weapon had been stolen, and someone had intercepted him. How could he have the chance to kill himself? Don't worry. No one will kill you. They will. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. He turned to the guards and said coldly, "Is it the law of the jungle? I've been hearing these words for a long time. Since that's the case, I'll show you what it means by the law of the jungle." In the next moment, Yi Tianyun's figure flashed and he dashed forward. His speed was so fast that it only left an afterimage in front of everyone's eyes. Many of them were at the level of the Lord of Heaven, but none of them could see Lee Tianyun clearly. Bang, bang, bang. 3 guards were blown to smithereens with a single kick. With the help of the title and the Chiskai trembling divine art, he directly kicked them into a bloody mist, using violence to curb violence. If you want to see what is the law of the jungle, then this is it. Ding successfully killed the guard, got 7 compression EXP, 2 compression crazy point, 1 compression value. Reincarnation sword, jade wheel armor, body protecting divine pill, increases defense by 5 times, lasts for 1 hour. Ding successfully killed the guard, got 3 guards were easily killed and a lot of EXP kept coming. Killing the Lord of Heaven gave a lot of EXP. In the blink of an eye, 3 guards were killed and the rest of the guards were shocked. The intruder is obviously not one of their own, but the enemy's helper. Who are you? Do you know whose territory this is? How dare you be so presumptuous? They still have a little bit of confidence. At the same time, they crushed the jade pendant in their hands and quickly asked for support. Isn't it just the Xianlong dragon sect? Lee Tianyun said with a sneer, you think you can bully everyone just because you have a good faction? That's what you're talking about. So what? At this time, a Lord of Heaven slowly descended from the sky. His cultivation is at the 8th layer of the Lord of Heaven, obviously an elder. He is much stronger than these guards. Elder. When the guards saw the Lord of Heaven descending, he immediately shouted in excitement, as if he saw his savior. Lee Tianyun turned his eyes and stared at him sharply, just because of this Xianlong dragon sect? Yes, in the 3 heavens god realm, Xianlong dragon sect is the biggest. Lord of Heaven looked at him and said sternly, you have committed a crime of death. You dare to break into the territory of Xianlong dragon sect and kill at will. No matter what background you have, even if you are a dragon, you will have to bow down to this old man. Lord of Heaven stretched out his hand, and the vast heavenly Tao power was displayed by him. The Lord of Heaven can use heavenly Tao power, the difference is the strength. Under his attack, the surroundings began to bloom with dazzling light. Obviously, he wants to use the power of the formation here to suppress Lee Tianyun's power. Feng Tiandijun's face changed, and hurriedly shouted, friend, run. Don't worry about me, run. You are my ancestor. Do you think I will run? Lee Tianyun smiled indifferently. While the other party was still in a daze, Lee Tianyun flew up lightly and stepped on the void. Boom. The power of the heavenly way condensed in the void was directly smashed into pieces by the stomp of his foot. The Lord of Heaven vomited blood as he fell from the sky. The power that he had condensed was easily crushed by Lee Tianyun, causing the power to backfire on him. How dare you be so arrogant in front of me with this trashy heavenly Tao power? The terrifying heavenly Tao power flashed behind Lee Tianyun, and the vague power seemed to be above all the heavenly Tao power. My heavenly Tao power, why can't I use it? Lord of Heaven's face was filled with fear, and his heart sank to the bottom as he felt extreme fear. In the next moment, Lee Tianyun was already in front of him. Step by step, Lee Tianyun walked in front of him and sneered, because you are too weak. As soon as he finished speaking, he stepped on the Lord of Heaven's body with a violent and absolute power. At this time, Lord of Heaven could clearly see the 10 chains that emerged from Lee Tianyun's back, and they were above all the heavenly Tao. 10 refining Earth Lord? Lord of Heaven's voice was hoarse, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. He could not imagine the existence of a 10 refining Earth Lord. Bang! Tianyun stepped on him and turned him into a mist of blood, and he could not be more dead. The other cultivators did not see this scene at all. Only those who were watching from a close distance could see the shadow of the 10 chains. Chapter 1178. It wasn't unheard of for an Earth Lord to kill a Lord of Heaven in a second, but only if the difference in their cultivation wasn't too big. It was entirely possible for an 8th or 9th layer Earth Lord to kill a 2nd or 3rd layer Lord of Heaven in a second. After all, those who broke through to become a Lord of Heaven could become a 3rd layer Earth Lord. These Earth Lords who broke through to become a Lord of Heaven were worthless. For example, these guards. They were all 3rd or 4th layer Earth Lords who broke through to become a Lord of Heaven. Although they weren't trash, they were definitely not that strong. It was precisely because they weren't that strong that they could only become guards and not elders. Now that an elder was here, he was still killed with a single kick. It was no different from killing an ordinary Lord of Heaven in a second. The disparity between them made them dumbfounded. Especially Feng Tiandi Lord, he didn't know what was going on, especially after hearing Yi Tianyun's words. He didn't understand what was going on. Ancestor, what do you mean? Feng Tiandi couldn't imagine what it meant. He understood the meaning of these two words, but he didn't know how to link them together. According to this, Yi Tianyun was his descendant? This was a little too terrifying, wasn't it? A descendant had far surpassed his ancestors? What else could it mean? It's just what the words mean. Your descendant is too strong, much stronger than the others. At this time, Lord Creation Heaven and Earth flew down. Yi Tianyun's speed was too fast. In the blink of an eye, he came down. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth. Are you all right? Feng Tiandi was pleasantly surprised when he saw Lord Creation Heaven and Earth. I was. Fortunately, your descendant saved me. Otherwise, I would have died. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth patted Feng Tiandi's shoulder and smiled. He is your descendant, the descendant of the 3 realms. Do you understand now? This. Feng Tiandi smiled bitterly. He still couldn't believe it. Everything happened too suddenly. Then his eyes lit up. Could it be that the 3 realms isn't destroyed? Of course not. It was just transferred. Your descendants have come to rescue us. After rescuing us, we will return to the 3 realms together. Lord Heaven Creator's eyes were filled with joy. Finally, he could return to the 3 realms. Feng Tiandi raised his head and looked over. Yi Tianyun had already killed all the guards in the surroundings, and he landed on the ground effortlessly. Not to mention being injured, not even a drop of blood could be seen on his body. We can go now. I'm sure ancient underworld situation isn't optimistic either. Yi Tianyun's expression was solemn. The situation had not been good for both times, so the ancient underworld deity king must be in danger as well. Yes, that's what I was thinking. However, the situation of ancient underworld's godly king. No, we don't dare to call ourselves godly kings anymore. We don't know where earthly Lord Ancient Underworld has been transferred to, Lord Heaven Creator said hurriedly. Don't worry, I know. Yi Tianyun took out the astrolabe which recorded the place where Earth Lord Gu Ming was captured in great detail. Unless it had been transferred, it would definitely be here. Immediately, Yi Tianyun brought the 2 of them and flew towards the location where Earth Lord Gu Ming was. Halfway through their journey, 2 figures rushed over and blocked Yi Tianyun's path. You killed our people and you still want to leave? The 2 figures were at the level of elders, one stronger than the other. Feng Tiandi and the others who were being dragged forward felt their hearts sink. They did not expect these elders to come so quickly. They saw Yi Tianyun let go of them gently and let them stay aside. His figure flashed and he rushed forward. There was no fancy move, just a simple collision. With the addition of the heaven-trembling divine art and the suppression of the heavenly Tao, how difficult could it be? Don't be so arrogant. The 2 of them roared angrily and displayed the heavenly Tao in their hands. The heavenly Tao turned into a dense net that shrouded over, trying to catch him. So what if I am arrogant? Yi Tianyun continued to rush forward, smashing the dense net into pieces and suppressing their heavenly Tao. They felt that they could control a lot of the heavenly Tao, but in an instant, they could only control a small portion. While they were still in shock, Yi Tianyun had already arrived in front of them. Each of them punched Yi Tianyun's fist, and with 2 bang sounds, they turned into 2 clouds of blood mist. This was the power of the Earth Lord 10 refining. Together with the title of Pinnacle, they did not need to use any martial arts to superimpose their strength by 15 times. This was not counting the superimposition of the Evil Dragon set. If all of them were superimposed, the power would be instantly explosive. It's done. Let's continue. Yi Tianyun came over calmly and continued to fly the 2 of them outside. Although they could fly, their speed was a little slow. Moreover, they were both injured and needed to heal. They did not need any elixirs. Just the Jupiter in his body and the longevity set were enough to help them recover quickly. That was why he needed to capture them. He could quickly find the ancient Ming earthly lord and heal his injuries. It was the best of both worlds. The two of them looked at each other. Killing the Lord of Heaven was as easy as drinking water to them. Not to mention resisting in front of the elders, they couldn't even resist the trashy guards. The gap between them was really huge. Is this really my descendant? Lord Feng Tianyun still could not believe it. Heaven's sealing divine kingdom. My surname is Yi, and my name is Tianyun. Yi Tianyun smiled. Your descendant, Tianyun, pays his respects to the ancestor. It's a little weird to call you that. Lord Feng Tianyun felt very awkward. He should have been happy about it. However, he did not know how many generations of his descendant had surpassed him so easily. It was a little embarrassing. If he was familiar with Yi Tianyun, it would not be a big deal if Yi Tianyun surpassed him. However, Tianyun suddenly appeared out of nowhere and said that Yi Tianyun was his descendant, and his cultivation was so much higher than him. Yi Tianyun had been out there for so long, yet he was doing worse than his descendant. I can't even accept him calling me senior. Lord Creation Heaven and Earth felt the same way. I'm half his master. What should I say? With such a huge gap in cultivation, anyone would feel a little embarrassed or in disbelief. You don't have to care about this. Cultivation represents status. The three realms can exist for so long because of your contribution. This has nothing to do with cultivation. No matter what, you deserve this respect. Yi Tianyun said respectfully. If it weren't for you, the three realms would have been devoured by the evil spirit race. He could not forget his roots. If it weren't for them, he would have been killed not long after he appeared. They were the ones who brought stability to the three realms. The two of them looked at each other and nodded. It's a little pretentious if you continue to say that. No matter what, your cultivation is higher than ours. You can make a lot of decisions. There will be talented people in every generation. We are inferior to you, so we still have to listen to your instructions. That's an exaggeration. I believe that the two of you are still very experienced. I am definitely not comparable to you. Yi Tianyun saw the two of them and he was in awe. Chapter 1179. On the way to save earthly Lord Gu Ming, both of them listened to Yi Tianyun's words. If they had any ideas, they would put them forward. Most of the time, they intended to let Yi Tianyun decide. Yi Tianyun knew what they were thinking. When it came to great contributions, the one with the highest level of cultivation was the main one. Their plans could only be used as a reference. Sometimes, they could not take advantage of their seniority, which would easily cause public anger. They knew this very well, which was why they kept saying that Yi Tianyun would be the main force and be led by him. At the right time, putting forward some ideas was the most correct way. Pointing out what to do was stupid people's way of thinking. Moreover, in their opinion, Yi Tianyun was stronger than them. How could he not be capable if he could make it to this stage? If they kept pointing fingers, it would undoubtedly be looking for trouble for themselves. No one would like that. Yi Tianyun did not say much. Since they had said so, he would act according to his own ideas. In fact, he did not have too many ideas. That was to save people. He was too lazy to think about anything else. No matter how many strong enemies came to intercept him, he would kill them all. Soon, he came to the planet where earthly Lord Gu Ming was staying, planet Guyuan. A planet with a lot of elixirs had a lot of resources, so it was normal for earthly Lord Gu Ming to be sent there. Because the three of them had different abilities, they were assigned different areas. If they could be together, it would not be so troublesome. Before entering, Yi Tianyun did not bring them in. He did not know what the situation was like on planet Guyuan. If he brought them in, it would be extremely troublesome to escape if they encountered any strong enemies. Therefore, placing them outside was undoubtedly the best choice. After settling them, Yi Tianyun quickly flew to planet Guyuan. As soon as he got close to planet Guyuan, he saw many guards patrolling on the side. It was obvious that even ordinary cultivators would find it difficult to get in. They would need to be checked layer by layer. It seems that the information travels quite fast. Lee Yun saw that these guards were so nervous. There was no doubt that he had caused trouble, and the news had already spread here. Every planet had a communication array, and information could be sent out very quickly. This was very important to the war. Lee Yun narrowed his eyes. With a slight shift, he appeared inside planet Guyuan in the next moment, easily passing through the interception point of the guards. To him, these guards were useless. He could deal with them with a single teleportation. If one teleportation couldn't solve the problem, then he would switch to two. After entering planet Guyuan, the guards inside were a lot more relaxed. The main reason was that the guards were intercepting people outside, so there was not much need to do so inside. This meant that the door was blocked. Unless there was someone messing around inside, there was nothing to worry about. If both the inside and the outside were extremely strict, it would undoubtedly waste a lot of manpower. Who would have thought that the troublemakers could easily break into Guyuan planet? After entering, although the security inside was not as tight as the outside, there were still guards patrolling occasionally. But overall, it was still relatively lax. From this, it could be seen that Lee Yun's actions had caused the Xuanwu dragon sect to be on their guard. They had probably treated him as another force that had snuck in to cause trouble. The Three Heavens divine domain was extremely chaotic, and many factions viewed each other as enemies. It was normal for them to think that the other side had sent them to cause trouble. This place looks very normal. After entering, Lee Yun surveyed the surroundings. It was actually a very normal city with people coming and going. There were many cultivators staying and cultivating here. These cultivators were the most basic. Without these foundations, a faction would undoubtedly fall very quickly. After all, many resources were found by these cultivators. However, these cultivators could be said to be taking the side of the evildoer. As long as they didn't capture their own people, they didn't mind. They even helped the Xuanwu dragon sect to capture foreign cultivators. Of course, the Xuanwu dragon sect didn't capture just anyone. They only captured capable people, such as divine craftsmen. As they continued to venture deeper, Lee Yun soon found the location of Earthly Lord Gu Ming. Compared to the other two, Earthly Lord Gu Ming's situation was undoubtedly much better. He stayed in front of the alchemy furnace and slowly refined elixirs. When the guards weren't paying attention, he would secretly stuff the elixirs into his mouth or hide them. Refining elixirs was completely different from forging weapons. Elixirs could replenish one's energy consumption, but forging weapons and carving divine seals couldn't. They would only continuously deplete one's energy. Refining elixirs was very satisfying. From time to time, he would steal some elixirs that could help him cultivate. Compared to Lord Heaven Creation and Lord Heaven Feng, he was much better. Lord Heaven Creation and Lord Heaven Feng were simply working hard. Apart from refining, they didn't have any rest at all. Earthly Lord Gu Ming cultivated while refining elixirs. He was really quick-witted. It seems like I don't have to worry about Earthly Lord Gu Ming the least. Lee Yun shook his head and found it hilarious. Immediately after, his figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. He began to sneak into the royal city in front. After Earthly Lord Gu Ming stole a handful of elixirs, he placed the refined elixirs at the side and let the guards take them away. After the guards left, he continued to steal elixirs. Soon, Lee Yun appeared beside him and patted him on the shoulder. Earthly Lord Gu Ming was startled. He quickly turned around and found that it wasn't the guards. "My friend, what's wrong?" "Shu, I'm here to save you. Just leave this place quietly," Lee Yun said. "No, I'm not leaving." Earthly Lord Gu Ming's eyes turned cold. "I appreciate your kindness." Lee Yun frowned. Could it be that Earthly Lord Gu Ming felt that the environment here was not bad and decided to stay here for a long time? "I'm from the Three Realms. I'm here to save you. Lord Heaven Creation and Lord Heaven Feng are waiting for you outside. Are you going to keep refining elixirs here?" Lee Yun quickly added. "From the Three Realms?" Earthly Lord Gu Ming was shocked. He turned to the side of the door and saw that the guards did not come in. He then whispered, "They are both outside. Are they all right?" How could they be okay? If I didn't come here, they would have been dead. Lee Dun-yun said briefly and explained the situation of the two of them. Bastard! How dare the elders here lie to me? Earthly Lord Gu Ming slapped the ground and said angrily, we agreed that if I stayed here to refine elixirs for them, they would let go of Lord Heaven Creation and Lord Heaven Feng. How dare they go back on their words? There's such a thing? Lee Tianyun squinted his eyes. No wonder Earthly Lord Gu Ming was unwilling to leave. He had already promised to stay at the Xuanwu Dragon Sect to refine elixirs for Lord Heaven Creation and Lord Heaven Creation to leave. This meant that Earthly Lord Gu Ming sacrificed his freedom to let them leave safely. Chapter 1180. Could it be that the Xuanwu Dragon Sect lied to me? They didn't let them go at all? Earth Lord Gu Ming was furious. If that was really the case, he would be completely enraged. He had sacrificed his freedom to work for the Xuanwu Dragon Sect so that they could be free. In the end, he had been cheated. One could imagine how he felt. I think so. At least when I found them, they were on the brink of death. They had no choice but to escape by themselves. Otherwise, they would have killed them all after they were used. Lee Tianyun shook his head. It was foolish of him to believe in such a cunning force. The reason why they killed them was because they felt that there was no use in keeping them. As for promoting them and making them their own people, that was too difficult. He had been mistreating them previously. Who knew if they would betray him? The best way was to kill them all. Only the dead wouldn't betray him. On the other hand, Earth Lord Gu Ming would treat them better. This was mainly because Earth Lord Gu Ming's standards were higher. He was a Tier 3 god alchemist. This was a pretty good standard. How could they not try to keep him? Especially since elixirs consumed the most, a god alchemist's status here was undoubtedly rather high. Damn it! Earth Lord Gu Ming punched the furnace heavily. The scorching furnace caved in from his punch. The extremely high temperature was burning his fist, but he didn't feel it at all. This action naturally attracted the attention of the guards outside. They rushed in immediately. When they saw Lee Tianyun and Earth Lord Gu Ming, they were first stunned. Just as they were about to shout, Tianyun had already charged in front of them. Lee Tianyun grabbed the guard's head and pressed it against the ground. With a loud bang, the guard was pressed against the ground. He couldn't move at all. His movements were restricted and he couldn't move at all. Earth Lord Gu Ming looked over in shock. He didn't expect Lee Tianyun to suppress his opponent so easily. If you shout, I don't mind crushing your head. Lee Tianyun warned from the side. The guard shivered. He felt so powerless. He couldn't defend against the attack of the invader. He didn't say anything, which meant that he agreed. Lee Tianyun looked up at Earthly Lord Gu Ming and said in a deep voice, you can ask him now. Ask him about the real situation. Earth Lord Gu Ming turned to the guards and said in a deep voice, did you promise me that you would let my companions go? The guard hesitated and glanced at Lee Tianyun. He didn't know if he could speak. He still wanted to live. Say it. If there's even half a lie, you can forget about your head. Lee Tianyun said in a low voice. I'll tell you, they didn't let your companions go. They were all placed on other planets. As for what happened, I don't know, the guard hurriedly explained. His knowledge was very limited, and it was already good enough that he could say a part of it. There were some that he didn't even know a bit about. Fine, then go to hell. Lee Dun-yun pressed down on the guard, and with a bang, he turned into a bloody mist. He couldn't be more dead. Letting him go? These were all bullshit. He wouldn't show any mercy to the people from the Xuanwu Dragon Sect. Damn it, you really lied to me. Earthly Lord Gu Ming was shocked and angry. His face turned green and white. It was very ugly. Then escape with me now. We'll settle the score with the Xuanwu Dragon Sect later. If Lee Tianyun was alone, he wouldn't be worried. Now that Earthly Lord Gu Ming wasn't in a good position to fight, it was better to escape. No, I can't escape. Earthly Lord Gu Ming shook his head, his face full of pain. You can't escape? Lee Tianyun frowned. Yes. Earthly Lord Gu Ming pulled up his sleeve, and there was a slave mark on it. The city lord here forced me to make a slave mark. Otherwise, he wouldn't let Lord Feng Tiandi and the others leave. At the same time, I have to listen to the city lord's orders. The order I received is that I can't leave this place until I serve for 10,000 years. His eyes were filled with anger, but he couldn't do anything. The slave mark was here, and he couldn't leave. If Itanyun dragged him away by force, earthly Lord Guming would struggle and force his way back here because of the mark. Even if he was knocked unconscious, he could still be taken away. When he woke up, he would keep running back here. This was an order. The slave imprint was so terrifying. As long as it was not removed, it would always be the master of the slave imprint. Until the city lord changed the order to something else, he would continue to obey this order. Damn it. Yi Tianyun was infuriated in his heart. This guy was simply a beast. Forget about the slave oath he made, he didn't even let Feng Tiandi and the others go. Instead, he forced them to work for him. This was a complete violation of his previous promise. It was impossible for the city lord to make an oath. How could he make an oath when their statuses were not equal? Don't even talk about taking revenge on the city lord. I can see that he doesn't even have the slightest bit of combat power. Fury blazed in earthly monarch Guming's eyes. Shortly after, he turned cold and shook his head. This is the fate of the weak. If we didn't agree to the oath back then, all of us would be finished. They did not want to die. It was not that they were afraid of death, but if they died, everything would be over. Earthly Lord Guming would rather become a slave in exchange for the freedom of the other two. Who knew that the city lord would not keep his promise and go back on his words? Come to think of it, would a robber keep his promise? Looks like there's only one way. Yi Tianyun squinted his eyes. What is it? Earthly Lord Guming looked up at him. Kill the city lord and all the oaths will disappear, Yi Tianyun said. You're crazy. Earthly Lord Guming quickly said, the city lord here is a Sir God. You're strong, but can you take on a Sir God? Fellow Taoist, thank you for your kindness. I appreciate your kindness, but I can only compromise and pretend that I don't know anything. I originally planned to use the resources here to improve my cultivation. After serving for 10,000 years, I will leave this place. Now it seems that they won't let me go even after 10,000 years. Earthly Lord Guming shook his head. I can only improve myself and hope that one day, I will have the power to fight them. These are the elixirs that I've hidden. Since you're here, give them to improve their cultivation. This was the only outcome he could choose. To him, Yi Tianyun's cultivation was not bad. He could kill the Lord of Heaven in an instant. But guards and city lord were two different things. Guards could be everywhere, but there was only one city lord, and he was a Sir God. Yi Tianyun did not accept the elixirs. Instead, he was touched. Even in this desperate situation, he did not forget his two old friends. Chapter 1181. The city lord of Guyuan planet was a Sir God. This didn't surprise Yi Tianyun at all. Instead, he felt that it was normal. If such a huge planet didn't even have a powerhouse, it would be easily conquered. Not to mention Guyuan planet, even places like Feilong City would have a powerful city lord. It was just that Yi Tianyun didn't start a conflict, so they didn't fight. It was different now. If he wanted to take Earth Lord Guming away, he had to kill the city lord or force the city lord to change his oath. Otherwise, Earth Lord Guming wouldn't be able to leave and could only stay here for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, he didn't know what would happen. He reckoned that the city lord would go back on his word again. Seeing that Yi Tianyun really wanted to fight the city lord, Earth Lord Guming was even more anxious. He hurriedly stopped in front of him and said, "Friend, don't be rash. You're quite strong now. If you continue to break through, you'll definitely be able to kill the city lord. There's still a lot of time. As long as I don't make any mistakes, the city lord won't kill me, so there's no need to be so anxious." He didn't want to watch Yi Tianyun throw away his life. It wasn't that he didn't want to escape, but if he didn't have any chance of winning, he would be throwing away his life. "Don't worry, I won't joke around with my life. Wait for me here," Tianyun said, turned and rushed out. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared in front of Earth Lord Guming. He didn't even have time to react. Sigh. Earth Lord Gu Ming punched the furnace. With a dong sound, the furnace was sent flying by his punch. Flames scattered everywhere and started to burn. He was extremely angry. More importantly, he had been fooled. Now, he could only wait here, which made him look very useless. If he followed along, not only would he not be of any help, but he would also become a burden. As long as the city lord gave the order, Earth Lord Gu Ming would immediately turn around and fight with Yi Tianyun. He wouldn't be able to resist at all. At the same time, in the imperial city of Guyuan planet, City Lord Huang Jian looked at the captured divine alchemy masters. They were all kneeling on the ground. Their faces were filled with anger, but now that they were imprisoned, they could not resist at all. I'll give you two choices now. One is to die, and the other is to swear a slave oath and obey my orders for 10,000 years. After 10,000 years, not only will you be given freedom, but you will also be given a lot of resources. If you perform well, I'll give you a high position. Of course, if you don't want anything and want to leave, you're more than welcome. City Lord Huang Jian looked at them with a smile. His face was filled with kindness, as if he was harmless to both humans and animals. After hearing Huang Jian City Lord's words, some of the people's eyes lit up. They felt that this method was feasible. Being able to join the Xuanwu Dragon sect was not a bad idea. After all, they were all rogue cultivators now. It was indeed possible for them to join a force. However, if they were to become slaves, they would not have any freedom and would be completely restricted. Especially for 10,000 years. That was really too long. Whether or not they could live for 10,000 years was another matter. The cultivators who were captured were all second or third refinement Earth monarchs. Every 1,000 years, they had to pass a heavenly tribulation. If they couldn't withstand it the next time, they would be finished. I can listen to your orders, but I don't want to swear a slave oath. One of them chose to object. If they were branded with a slave oath, they would lose everything. City Lord Huang Jian squinted his eyes and smiled faintly. Didn't you hear what I said just now? There are only two choices. There are no other choices. That person's expression stiffened. He immediately rejected. I'm a divine alchemy master. No matter what, I can't swear a slave oath. I can work for you, but I definitely can't swear a slave oath. Then go and die for me. City Lord Huang Jian waved his hand, and a cold light shot out. This cultivator was blasted into a mist of blood, leaving a small pool of blood on the ground. The cultivators at the side were shocked. A living person was killed in an instant just like that. I wonder if there's anyone else who didn't hear what I said? City Lord Huang Jian revealed a faint smile. My patience is limited. I don't like it when people think for too long. There's nothing wrong with a slave oath. There are a lot of people around me who have sworn slave oaths. Isn't a slave oath the best way to make people believe you? As a divine alchemy master on my side, I've come into contact with many things. If you smuggle some personal goods, wouldn't I be at a disadvantage? If you want me to believe you, you need to swear a slave oath. After swearing it, everything else will be easy. What's yours will be yours. To these new members, the simplest and most violent method was to swear a slave oath. They would answer whatever they were asked and do whatever they were told to do. This would save them a lot of trouble and they wouldn't have to worry about betrayal. Seeing how City Lord Huang Jian killed them without any hesitation, their hearts trembled. They could only grit their teeth and agree. Either they swear a slave oath or they die. There was no other choice. Very quickly, they all chose to swear a slave oath. After all, they could eat and drink well here. All they had to do was listen to orders. After swearing the oath, this group of divine alchemy masters were sent away to concoct pills. After they were sent away, City Lord Huang Jian looked at their backs and sneered. After swearing a slave oath, they still want to leave? What a bunch of idiots. Work hard for me. Even if you die, you have to die here. City Lord Huang Jian naturally wouldn't let them leave. With so many divine alchemy masters, they could keep concocting pills for him and they wouldn't betray him. Where would he find these people? He would definitely squeeze them dry and not let them leave. As expected of bandits. None of them keep their promises. If you don't keep your promise, it has nothing to do with me. However, if you offend my people, then it has something to do with me. A figure slowly walked over from the side. He just walked in from the side door. He didn't try to sneak in or anything like that. He just walked in openly. He was Yi Tianyun. He witnessed the whole process from the outside. As expected of one of the leaders of the bandits, keeping his promise was bullshit. It was useless to reason with them and keep their promises. He could understand this point. If one wanted to survive in this world, being honest was equivalent to courting death. Although I don't know you, it seems like you have confidence to walk in so confidently. I wonder which faction sent you here? Or, are you the guy who caused trouble in my faction recently? City Lord Huang Jian narrowed his eyes and sized up Yi Tianyun. He wasn't in a hurry to make a move. Instead, he wanted to ask first. However, after sizing up Yi Tianyun for a moment, he realized that he couldn't see through Yi Tianyun's true strength. In a daze, he felt that Yi Tianyun was an Earth monarch. However, he had no idea what level he was at. Chapter 1182. City Lord Huangjian looked calm and didn't get angry right away. He looked at the captured cultivators with a harmless expression. It was obvious that his disguise was a common occurrence. He looked normal and didn't have any intention of attacking. In fact, the arrays around him were activated and all the escape routes were sealed. He wouldn't let the intruder escape. He wanted to force out the identity of the intruder. Especially now that the intruder had barged into his city. It was a slap to his face. So many guards couldn't stop an intruder, and an Earth Lord at that. How could he not feel humiliated? Following that, he became more cautious. If he could come alone, he wouldn't have come if he wasn't confident. You don't need to know that. All you need to know is that I'm here to kill you. Yi Tianyun smiled. He looked as calm and friendly as City Lord Huangjian. But internally, he was already prepared to attack. He came in from the front instead of a sneak attack. It wasn't that he didn't want to, but it was useless against a God Lord. His reaction and discernment abilities were far beyond the level of the Lord of Heaven. From the detailed data provided by the appraisal eye, he knew how terrifying the other party was. He was only at level 1 God Lord, but his combat power was already over 7 million star power. It was quite terrifying. Yi Tianyun had only broken through to level 10 of the Earth Lord cultivation, but he only had 300,000 star power. Compared to City Lord Huangjian, the difference was more than 20 times. Yi Tianyun's 300,000 star power was stronger than most of the Lord of Heaven. It was basically equivalent to level 4 or 5 of the Lord of Heaven. But against a God Lord, the pressure was multiplied. Of course, he could still accept it. If he wasn't confident, he wouldn't have come. After all, if the difference was too great, he would be courting death. You want to kill me? City Lord Huangjian sized him up and found it funny. There are at least 8,000 people who want to kill me. You're just an Earth Lord? Before he finished his sentence, Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold and he disappeared on the spot. City Lord Huangjian's pupils shrunk and he quickly threw a punch behind him. Almost instantly, City Lord Huangjian's combat power skyrocketed, rushing to 22 million star power points in one go. His arms glowed with a golden light as if it was plated with a layer of gold. Boom! Violent fists collided with fists, and the shocking impact caused him to retreat a few steps. His arm was almost broken. A sense of danger emerged from the depths of his heart. How could an Earth Lord's strength reach such a level? Fortunately, his equipment was not bad, and he reacted in time. Otherwise, he would have been blown to smithereens. This power! Huangjian City Lord's heart sank as he looked at Yi Tianyun in disbelief. No matter how he looked at Yi Tianyun, he felt that Yi Tianyun was only at the level of Earth Monarch. Yi Tianyun's burst of power is naturally not weak. He directly burst out the crazy damage mode. 64 times damage is stacked on top of that. The strength that Yi Tianyun unleashed was naturally not weak. It exploded with a crazy damage mode and 64 times the damage was stacked on top of each other. As expected of a God Lord. The foundation of his combat power is too high. Yi Tianyun's eyes turned cold. He didn't stop and charged forward. The Tiantian divine spear appeared in his hand. He had to admit that this weapon was a little weak. But this was the only one he could use. He had to forge a stronger one for himself next time. Divine Dragon Bloodline, activate. Phoenix Bloodline, activate. Violent Sky Technique, activate. The three abilities were activated at the same time, and his combat power skyrocketed from 23 million to 29 million star power points. The stacked effect of the three abilities was a total of 6 million star power. His combat power once again climbed to a new peak. The Tiantian divine spear in his hand started to vibrate crazily, as if it was going to explode at any time. Yi Tianyun's strength was so strong that the Tiantian divine spear couldn't take it anymore. Imperial Overlord Technique. City Lord Huang Jian roared in anger and displayed a low-rank Heaven's Dao martial art. His entire body glowed with a golden light, as if he was a supreme being releasing his majesty. His aura surged out in all directions, forcing everyone to bow their heads in submission. City Lord Huang Jian was most proud of this inferior-grade Heavenly Dao martial art. It allowed him to become a good city lord in the Xianlong Dragon sect. After performing the Imperial Overlord technique, the shocking martial art caused his combat power to increase rapidly. On top of his original foundation, his strength was stacked 5 times. This caused his overall combat power to jump to over 57 million star power. It seemed like it was only a 5 times increase in strength, which was even worse than the Violent Sky technique. In fact, if he really used the Violent Sky technique, it definitely wouldn't be 5 times. At most, it would be 2 times. The stronger one's cultivation, the weaker the effect of previous martial arts. After all, the level of martial arts was there, and the power that could be unleashed was naturally very limited. However, it was already very terrifying to be able to unleash 1 or 2 times the original strength. With the foundation, how could it not be terrifying? It was already very terrifying to be able to unleash this much power. From the original 7 million points of star power to 57 million points of star power, such a leap made one's heart palpitate. This wasn't even the strongest power of the Imperial Overlord technique. If he cultivated it to the later stages, the power would undoubtedly be even more shocking. A mere Earth monarch dares to be so arrogant in front of me. City Lord Huangjian roared and a long sword appeared in his hand. He slashed at Yi Tianyun's waist. At the same time, he triggered the violent Heavenly Dao power in the surroundings to gather towards him. Heavenly Dao power? Yi Tianyun sneered and quickly stepped on the void. With a boom, City Lord Huangjian's combat power was reduced by almost half. He was only left with 37 million star power. This was the power of the Heavenly Dao. Because City Lord Huangjian's Heavenly Dao power wasn't as overbearing as Yi Tianyun's, he was directly suppressed by the title. However, it wasn't as perverted as suppressing the Lord of Heaven and the Earth Monarch. It could only suppress a small portion. It was a pity that the damage wasn't doubled. After all, the opponent was a divine lord, not the Lord of Heaven or the Earth Monarch. What's going on? My power? City Lord Huangjian's heart trembled. His originally vast power was suddenly cut in half. How could he not be shocked? He only felt that the Yi Tianyun standing in front of him wasn't that small. Instead, it was like a giant standing in front of him. But when he saw the shadow behind Yi Tianyun, he lost his voice and shouted, 10 refining Earth Monarch. Chapter 1183. 10th Refinement Earth Lord. City Lord Huangjian was completely dumbfounded. He had never seen a 10th Refinement Earth Lord before. 9th Refinement Earth Lord was already the limit. This was common sense. But common sense was shattered in front of him. 9th Refinement Earth Lord wasn't the limit. There was still the 10th Refinement Earth Lord. The 10 thick chains behind Yi Tianyun looked like the power of the Heavenly Dao, and they were constantly buffing Yi Tianyun. Even though City Lord Huangjian had broken through to Divine Lord, his original Heavenly Dao chains didn't disappear. One could still see that there were 6 Heavenly Dao chains. Compared to Yi Tianyun's 10 Heavenly Dao chains, it was simply a pile of trash. This was the suppression of strength. Even if one's cultivation was inferior, the suppression of the essence of energy was different. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed. The spear in his hand spun rapidly, turning into a tornado in the air. In this tornado, countless specks of vast starlight appeared. The void above his head continued to pour down the power of stars, enveloping Yi Tianyun's body. Boundless God Art, Starry Sky Suppression. High-grade heavenly Tao martial art was displayed by him. After cultivating for so long, it was finally time to take it out for a walk. When he displayed it, a sky full of stars appeared above his head. Originally, there wasn't a single star in the sky, but now, there were countless stars enveloping him. Each star constantly reinforced him, and with each reinforcement, his combat power soared to a new level. In the end, it directly soared to 25 times combat power. Boom! Yi Tianyun originally had about 30 million star power, but with the addition of more than 12 million star power, it immediately erupted to more than 40 million star power. Even relying on high-grade heavenly Tao martial art, he still couldn't completely surpass the other party's strength. Fortunately, with the suppression of the absolute title, the other party's combat power was greatly reduced. Now, after the eruption of power, he had reached an existence that could crush the other party. This move is for you to repay your debt, bastard. Yi Tianyun turned into a meteor, piercing towards City Lord Huangjian. The surrounding starry sky continued to descend, suppressing the eruption of power from City Lord Huangjian. Even if there was a grand formation here, it would be of no use. City Lord Huangjian naturally wouldn't sit still and wait for his death. He braced himself and charged forward. However, with his current strength, he couldn't compare to Yi Tianyun. No, City Lord Huangjian let out a blood-curdling scream before he was engulfed by Yi Tianyun, who had turned into a meteor. Accompanied by an extreme explosion, the entire imperial city was lifted up. The guards who had come over were all turned into dust by the power of the stars. They couldn't be more dead. Successfully killed Huangjian City Lord. Reward, 67 EXP, 5 Crazy Point, 4 SBS. Obtained Martial Arts, Imperial Tyrant Art, Imperial Tyrant Divine Sword, High-Grade Reincarnation Grade, Imperial Tyrant Armor, High-Grade Reincarnation Grade, Imperial Tyrant Divine Pill, temporarily increases strength by 10 times, Hovering Dragon Sect Map, Rare, Hovering Dragon Sect Key, Rare. After killing Huangjian City Lord, he received a huge amount of experience. 67 compressed experience points were equivalent to 6.7 trillion experience points, which made him exclaim in satisfaction. This doesn't include the EXP of the guards outside. It directly increased his EXP by a lot. If he continues like this, it won't be difficult to break through to the level of Lord of Heaven. A divine emperor was killed by him. If it wasn't for the suppression of the title, even if he had a high-grade heavenly path martial art, he would still be suppressed. After all, in the later stages, Huangjian City Lord's power has reached more than 50 million star power, which is far beyond the limit of the current Yi Tianyun. Fortunately, he is still in the early stage of Divine Emperor. If he is stronger, the effect of the title will be even weaker. Tianyun shook his head. If Huangjian City Lord is an 8th refining Earth Lord, then the suppression of the title will be even weaker. At that time, it won't be easy to deal with him. It will take more power to suppress him. Of course, if he can't beat Huangjian City Lord, then he will run away instead of choosing to stay here. Even if he can't beat Huangjian City Lord, running away is not a problem. After killing this Huangjian City Lord, he began to plunder the place, taking away all the valuables in this place. He always plunder, these are all resources. The next time he returns to the 3 realms, he can give them to Shi Shuiyun and the rest. After plundering, he quickly went to look for Earth Lord Gu Ming. Earth Lord Gu Ming paced back and forth in the alchemy room, his face full of surprise and disbelief, looking at the mark on his arm from time to time. There is no mark on his arm, which means that Huangjian City Lord has been killed, or else the mark will not disappear. Fortunately, the oath they made wasn't an oath to live and die together. Even if Huangjian City Lord died, they would die together with him. That would be a tragedy. Earth Lord Gu Ming, what's wrong? Yi Tianyun walked in and saw him pacing back and forth. He couldn't help but smile. You really did it? Earth Lord Gu Ming's eyes lit up when he saw him coming in. He rushed over and exclaimed in surprise. What do you think? Yi Tianyun smiled. That's unbelievable. That's a divine lord. You actually killed a divine lord. That's unbelievable. How can there be such a genius in the three realms? Could it be that you have been hiding your strength, and you are actually a divine lord? Earth Lord Gu Ming really couldn't believe that someone could kill someone of a higher level. I am indeed an Earth Monarch, Yi Tianyun said with a smile. This. Earth Lord Gu Ming's mind went blank and he didn't know what to say. He still couldn't believe it. How could he kill someone of a higher level like that? Don't think too much. The heaven and earth creator and the rest are waiting for us outside. Yi Tianyun gestured for Earth Lord Gu Ming not to think too much, and quickly flew out with him. At the same time, they had to leave this place as soon as possible to prevent any unforeseen events. The Shenlong Dragon Sect is not a weak force. They have a few divine lords, and this is probably the weakest. If a few divine lords appear, it will be hard for him to deal with them. Immediately, they left this place quickly and gathered with the heaven and earth creator and the rest. After gathering, Yi Tianyun brought them back to the three realms, and they wouldn't continue to stay in the three heavens' divine territory any longer. When they completely left this place, the divine lords from the other planets finally arrived. They had just received the news and rushed over immediately. Seeing that the imperial city in front of them had been blown up, all of their faces turned green. Investigate thoroughly. Find out who that guy is. Go to the Moon Spirit Pavilion and see if we can find out who that guy is. The three experts who appeared were all divine lords, and they represented the highest strength of the Shenlong Dragon Sect. Now that one of their companions had died, how could they calm down? Chapter 1184. When the three divine monarchs of the Xuanwu Dragon Sect arranged for people to investigate the situation, one of them went straight to the Moon Spirit Pavilion to ask for information. The old man was still leisurely fanning himself. Even when the expert rushed in, he still maintained the same expression without any expression. I want to find information about a person. The Lord of Treasure Star City revealed a frightening gaze with a murderous aura. Are you looking for the murderer of City Lord Huangjian? The old man smiled while fanning himself. That's right. The Lord of Treasure Star City was startled. He didn't even say anything and the old man answered for him. There's no information. This person is too mysterious. We don't know his true identity. The old man continued fanning himself and didn't seem to have any intention of getting up. We don't know his true identity? The Lord of Treasure Star City's eyes darkened. Even the Moon Spirit Pavilion can't find any information? It's true that we are collecting information. But if the other party hides his identity, we can't do anything about it. Especially if he comes and goes alone, we won't know his true identity. The old man replied leisurely. The Lord of Treasure Star City frowned. This wasn't the answer he wanted. Then hurry up and collect it for me. The price is negotiable. The Lord of Treasure Star City said in a deep voice. Don't worry, I will tell you after I collect it. The old man fanned himself slowly and closed his eyes as if he was sleeping. The Lord of Treasure Star City snorted coldly and turned to leave. He didn't make things difficult for the old man. After the Lord of Treasure Star City left, the old man opened his eyes slowly and smiled. Interesting. Really interesting. I didn't expect you to have the strength to defeat a divine monarch. Did I make a mistake? You're not an Earth monarch? This matter is really worthy of celebration. I have to inform the sect master. At the same time, Yi Tianyun had already returned to the three realms with Lord Heaven and Earth Creator and the others. Naturally, he wouldn't fly with the three of them. The speed was too slow. The simplest way was to let them hide in the planets in their bodies. With a teleportation divine stone, they could easily return to the three realms. If they flew back, it would take a few years. It was undoubtedly a waste of time. 3 realms. This is the 3 realms. We are back. When they appeared in the air above the three realms, their hearts were filled with excitement. Sensing such a familiar aura, they couldn't help but be excited. After being outside for so long, he could finally return. Soon after, when they investigated, all of them were shocked. They discovered that the situation inside had undergone an earth-shattering change. There were as many experts as the clouds. It was much better than the situation before they left. Among them, there were dozens of God King experts and star venerates. Compared to the few they had back then, they were much stronger. This change is too big. The three of them turned to look at Yi Tianyun. Without a doubt, it was all thanks to Yi Tianyun that they could become like this. I brought back all the resources I obtained from the outside world for them to use. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. We are really ashamed of our inferiority. They shook their heads. This was the first time they had returned after so many years. On the other hand, Yi Tianyun had already provided so many resources for the three realms. The three realms had undergone great changes. At least it had the ability to protect itself. There wouldn't be any experts that could pressure the three realms to the point of suffocation. You guys have done very well. If it wasn't for you, the three realms would have been destroyed. Let's go down and take a look. Tianyun smiled and gestured for them to go back and take a look. The three of them nodded. They wanted to go back and see how their descendants were doing. One by one, they returned to their respective regions. As they hadn't returned for a long time, their descendants basically didn't recognize them. However, they still had the corresponding bloodline in their bodies. It was impossible for them to be completely severed. Yi Tianyun also went back and reunited with Shi Shuiyun and the others. They had just left for a short period of time. They returned so quickly. Their separation was really short. After a simple reunion, the three of them returned. They had already heard about Yi Tianyun's previous achievements. They were very shocked. They felt that Yi Tianyun was the true guardian of the three realms. Without them, he could still protect the three realms. The changes are really great. The descendants are basically in decline. All of them shook their heads. Only the Fengtian Divine Kingdom fared slightly better. The other two clans were in a much worse state. Fortunately, with the support of Yi Tianyun, the situation improved greatly. However, it was still not as glorious as before. They could only gradually recover. What are your plans now? Yi Tianyun looked at them and asked. I will stay here temporarily. I don't plan to go to the deity domain. I plan to nurture my descendants here. Yes, I think so too. Nurture your descendants first. Only then will they be able to roam the world in the future. I don't need to nurture any descendants. With Tianyun here, I am really honored as an ancestor. However, even if I don't nurture any descendants, I plan to stay here and rest with you two old fellows. Fengtian Lord was the biggest winner. He was grinning from ear to ear. After confirming, he finally knew that Yi Tianyun was really his descendant. This made him extremely happy. However, they were all tired. They had been running around for too long. At least they had to rest here. Since that's the case, you three seniors should rest here. Yi Tianyun did not say anything else. They had been running around outside for a long time. They were indeed too tired. Don't worry. We will go out very soon. The outside world is indeed more abundant. The three of them looked at each other and smiled. It's not good for us to stay in the three realms all the time. It will erase our fighting spirit. The three of them were only resting here temporarily. They were still full of yearning for the outside world. If they were to stay here forever, there would really be nothing to pursue. Although the outside world was full of danger, they were still full of passion. All right, I will leave the three realms to you to protect. Yi Tianyun smiled. He would not continue to stay here. There were still many things he needed to do. His next goal was to kill his way to the evil spirit race. After fighting with the Divine Lord, he realized that he had the power to fight against a Divine Lord. Since that was the case, he could go to the evil spirit race to seek justice. Previously, he had always been suppressed, but now it was his turn to take the initiative to attack. Of course, he would not go there in this state. Don't forget, in his inventory, There was always an evil spirit race puppet that could allow him to go deep into the enemy without anyone noticing. Chapter 1185. The matter of Lord of Heaven and Earth has been solved. The biggest problem now is to improve his cultivation and then attack the cultivation of the Lord of Heaven. However, there are still a lot of things that need to be improved. Even with 5 heavenly Tao martial arts, it's still not enough to face the heavenly tribulation. The divine monarch level heavenly tribulation is much stronger than the Huangjian city lord. Tianyun compared and felt the gap between the two is not small. It can be said that the heavenly tribulation is a level stronger than the Huangjian city lord. However, it's not much stronger, just a small level stronger is enough to make him suffer. His title can suppress the Lord of Heaven and even the divine monarch, but it is powerless against the heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation is the representation of the extreme heavenly Tao, so he is still slightly inferior. This title can't be used, so to fight against the heavenly tribulation he needs to improve in all aspects. If he wants to improve, he needs a lot of crazy points. Harassing the evil spirit race is undoubtedly a very good idea. He immediately teleported back to the 3 heavens divine realm. He wanted to go to the Moon Spirit Pavilion to ask about the current situation of the evil spirit race. He doesn't know the movement of the evil spirit race and the location of the evil spirit race, but the Moon Spirit Pavilion should know. Soon he returned to the Moon Spirit Pavilion. He doesn't need to disguise himself. After all, when he suppressed the Xianlong dragon sect, he didn't use his real face to deal with them. Since the Moon Spirit Pavilion can recognize him, then the Xianlong dragon sect can also find out his origin. In order not to cause any trouble for the heavenly spring divine realm, he naturally chose to hide his identity. This time, there is no need to hide his identity. Anyway, there is no conflict. When he returned to the Moon Spirit Pavilion, the old man quickly opened his eyes. A bright light burst out, looking at him from head to toe, as if he wants to see through him. But after looking for a long time, he can still see that the old man has the cultivation of Earth Monarch, not the Lord of Heaven, and not the cultivation of Divine Monarch. This made his eyes full of doubt. It is very unbelievable. I don't know why Senior keeps staring at me. Is there something on my face? Tianyun smiled. City Lord Huangjian was killed, was it you? The old man narrowed his eyes and asked, "Why do you say that? City Lord Huangjian has the cultivation of a god monarch while I am merely an earth monarch. How could I possibly kill City Lord Huangjian?" Tianyun smiled faintly. As far as I know, of the 3 friends you want to take away, one of them has made a slave oath with Huangjian City Lord. If you want to take it away, either Huangjian City Lord dies, or Huangjian City Lord cancels the slave oath. The old man had quite a lot of information. He basically knew everything about this area. If the Moon Spirit Pavilion, which specialized in selling information, did not even have the most basic information, then there was no need for it to exist. Tianyun squinted his eyes. This old man had deduced a lot of things, but he would not admit it. I'm not too sure about that. It just so happened that Huangjian City Lord offended someone and was killed by his enemy. Tianyun shrugged his shoulders and smiled. In any case, it has nothing to do with me. I'm quite lucky to have encountered this matter. The old man narrowed his eyes and looked at Tianyun. He wanted to see something from Tianyun's expression. However, after looking for a long time, he could not see anything and could only give up. All right then, what information do you want this time? The old man's eyes were still filled with suspicion. He felt that Tianyun was definitely lying. Either did it himself or he had a helper. How could there be such a coincidence in this world? He just happened to save someone and came to his enemy? No matter what, he was not willing to believe it. I want to know the latest news about the evil spirit race and their location. Tianyun asked straightforwardly. Latest news about the evil spirit race? The old man looked him up and down and said in shock. Could it be that the evil spirit race offended you? The evil spirit race is not easy to deal with. They seem to be a grade 2 god realm force, but who knows how many god realms they have colluded with, and they even have many powerful forces. According to the rumors, the evil spirit race might already be a grade 3 god realm, but they are keeping a low profile and did not enter the grade 3 god realm area. The evil spirit race has indeed offended me. Whether it's a grade 2 god realm or a grade 3 god realm, you only need to tell me the news, Itianyun said indifferently. Just tell me the fee, and you don't need to care about the rest. The old man narrowed his eyes and looked at him. He leaned back on the chair and waved his fan slowly. He smiled and said, "All right, this can be considered a kind of training. But do you know why the evil spirit race still exists even though everyone wants to kill them? I think it's more because they have the support of some experts." Itianyun said indifferently. That's right. For them to be able to survive for so long and even eradicate those god realms that wanted to exterminate the evil spirit race, they must have a powerful expert supporting them from behind. According to the rumors, they have a grade 4 god realm as their backer. Do you think you can still deal with them? The old man seemed to be very talkative and wanted to chat more with him. A grade 4 god realm as their backer? Itianyun's eyes narrowed. This was a little unexpected. That's right, that's just a rumor. In any case, it's not that easy to deal with them. It's fine if you want to play around. As long as you don't go too deep and hurt the evil spirit race's foundation, they won't take revenge. The prerequisite is that you have to hide your identity well. If you're recognized, I'm afraid you'll implicate the forces you belong to. Itianyun was not a fool. He didn't even dare to show his true face when dealing with the Xianlong dragon sect. If he wanted to show his true face, there was only one possibility, and that was if he had absolute invincible strength. That way, he would have nothing to fear. I understand this point. Itianyun nodded. He definitely wouldn't kill his way over directly. Instead, he would sneak in and see the real situation inside. He wanted to see what exactly was going on with the evil spirit race. The old man flicked his hand, and an astrolabe landed in his palm. He smiled and said, "This is the rough distribution of the evil spirit race. We don't know the details, but it's not that easy to infiltrate. If we casually infiltrate, even our Moon Soul Pavilion will be in trouble." After Itianyun took the astrolabe, he looked at it and immediately saw the distribution of the evil spirit race. They were scattered around Fanyu, and it looked rather strange. Among them, many existed in grade 2 god realms. It could be said that their distribution was quite extensive. It was already quite good to be able to obtain such resources. May I know how much it costs? Itianyun was very satisfied with this. It was enough to know this. No need, it's free. The old man smiled and said, "You are fated with our sect master. It's a gift to you." "I'm fated with your sect master?" Itianyun asked doubtfully. "That's right. If you continue to break through, you'll have a chance to become a disciple of the same sect. Do you understand?" The old man didn't hide anything. Chapter 1186. Itianyun immediately understood what being in the same sect meant. Currently, he was only a disciple in name under the vast heavenly venerate. After becoming a heavenly venerate, he would have a few senior brothers. From this, he could learn a lot of information. The sect master behind the Moon Spirit Pavilion was actually a heavenly venerate. No wonder the Moon Spirit Pavilion was so arrogant. With a heavenly venerate as their backer, how could they not be arrogant? It did not matter if the Moon Spirit Pavilion looked simple and crude. The key was that it was spread across many large regions. Itianyun believed that the Moon Spirit Pavilion definitely had more than one branch. There were many branches. "Looks like I have a cheap senior brother." Itianyun smiled. No wonder the sect master took such good care of him. So this was their relationship. Of course, the prerequisite is that I can break through to that position. Otherwise, I will not be a senior brother. If he did not break through to the heavenly venerate, he would always be a disciple in name. Naturally, he would not be considered a fellow disciple. However, he had not broken through yet, so this senior brother took good care of him. It is fate that you can become a disciple under the vast heavenly venerate. However, everything will depend on your own ability. If you are fated, you will be able to meet the sect master in the future. The old man smiled. The sect master has always been elusive. I have never seen him before. Lee Tianyun was shocked. He had not expected that even the sect master had not seen this powerhouse before. No matter what, please tell senior brother that I thank him for taking care of me. In the future, I hope that I will be fortunate enough to become a true senior brother. Lee Tianyun did not ask any further. He definitely did not have the qualifications to meet the sect master now. I will definitely pass on your message. The old man smiled. After inquiring about the situation, Lee Tianyun left immediately. He did not stay there for long. After he left, the old man took out a crystal and flicked it into the wall. Then he continued to lean on the bench and cool himself. There was no difference from before. He was still so relaxed, as if everything had nothing to do with him. After Lee Tianyun left, he flew directly to the evil spirit race's distribution point. He didn't return to the Heavenly Spring Divine Domain since he hadn't received any news yet. If there was any urgent news, the token given to him would prompt him. Thus, he didn't need to return to the Heavenly Spring Divine Realm. He could directly fly to the evil spirit race's distribution point. Are we finally going to come into direct contact with the evil spirit race? Lee Tianyun squinted his eyes. After so many years, he had finally reached a cultivation that could contend against the evil spirit race. Previously, his cultivation had always been insignificant. Even now, he felt the pressure multiplying. Especially the news he had just received. It was possible that the evil spirit race had a grade 4 god realm backing them. This was too terrifying. Even the Moon Spirit Pavilion could not find out much about their true strength. This was enough to show how powerful the evil spirit race was. Many of the evil spirit race's distribution points were in Fanyu. He did not immediately go to the divine realm's evil spirit race's forces. The main reason was that Xiao Chen's evil spirit puppet was too low-ranked. Up until now, it was only a star venerate. The forces within God's domain were definitely not forces of this level that could infiltrate. Thus, he planned to start from the outside. He wanted to see why the evil spirit race had so many forces in Fanyu. Using the teleportation divine stone, he quickly arrived outside of Fanyu. Without hesitation, he flew to the evil spirit race's distribution point. When he was about to arrive, he quickly took out the evil spirit puppet. It looked like it had the pure bloodline of the evil spirit race. If he wasn't the owner of the evil spirit puppet, even he wouldn't be able to tell if it was real or fake. Following that, he entered the evil spirit puppet and flew over openly. This way, he wouldn't have to worry about being discovered by the evil spirit race. As he continued to go deeper, the surroundings were empty. There was almost no life. It wasn't that there was no life here, but that all life had been eradicated. He could see that a great battle had happened on the surrounding planets. Some of the planets were already shattered and looked terrible. It could be said that wherever the evil spirit race went, not even a blade of grass would grow. Lee Tianyun frowned. The evil spirit race was really cruel. They really didn't show the slightest bit of mercy to other races. This area was already too horrible to look at. It was unknown if there were any more normal areas. As he went deeper, the situation inside became worse and worse. It seemed like there was basically nothing normal about it. However, this area was already considered a relatively remote corner, and was still a long way from the god's domain. He didn't know what the evil spirit race was planning to do here, but could it be that it was purely to expand the power of Fanyu? As he continued to go deeper, he quickly arrived at a distribution point. There was a small city built here. Looking down from above, there weren't many evil spirit races. Instead, there were quite a few cultivators staying below. These cultivators were all imprisoned here to help with the work. On this planet, there were a few star stone veins, so many cultivators were needed to dig them out. Hurry up and dig. The evil spirit race at the side waved his whip and fiercely lashed out, sending the cultivator flying. After the cultivator was sent flying, he vomited blood non-stop. He was already severely injured and could not move. Trash, you can't even move like this? The evil spirit race grabbed the injured cultivator and directly threw him into his huge mouth. Then he slowly chewed and swallowed. It's really disgusting. If you want to live, then hurry up and work for me. Don't be lazy. The cultivators who were mining kept quiet out of fear. Their bodies trembled and the speed at which they were digging increased a little, but it was only a little bit. Their hands were already covered in blood. Mining consumed a lot of energy, but they didn't have the slightest bit of time to rest. If they wanted to live, they could only continue to dig. Otherwise, they would die. Mother, I can't dig anymore. A child's hands were already dripping with blood. It looked like he had reached his limit. Child, hold on a little longer, we can rest. The eyes of the woman at the side turned red, but she could only do so. Who told them to be so weak that they didn't even have the ability to resist? Those who were forced to work here were all below the Star Lord level, so a simple Star Lord was enough to suppress them. If it was a child, his cultivation would be even weaker, but the evil spirit race didn't care if he was a child or not. As long as he was alive, he would have to come and work. You promised not to stop. The evil spirit race lashed out with his whip. The woman's face paled. She quickly hugged her child tightly, preventing the whip from hitting her child. When the cultivators at the side saw this scene, their faces turned pale. They wanted to help, but they didn't dare. They could only close their eyes, as if the woman's back would be torn apart in the next moment. In the next moment, a figure appeared in front of them. He extended his hand and grabbed the whip, firmly fixing it in place and preventing it from moving at all. Chapter 1187. Human, a human? The evil spirit race was shocked. A human suddenly appeared, causing them to feel extremely shocked. Who would have thought that there would be a human cultivator trespassing in their territory? The other evil spirit race members immediately rushed over. There were 10 odd evil spirit race star venerates in total. With so many star venerates, it was more than enough to manage this group of enslaved cultivators. Die! Yi Tianyun's gaze turned cold. He did not say anything as he rushed forward. A beam of silver light appeared before everyone's eyes. In the next moment, the 10 odd evil spirit race star venerates exploded on the spot, turning into a bloody mist, not leaving anything behind. When the many cultivators saw this scene, they felt like they saw hope, a god that saved them. It was an instant kill, and that instant kill was mixed with his anger. The evil spirit race truly lived up to its reputation. They could not stop enslaving any race to do such a thing. However, was the Hanging Dragon Gate not the same? It looked like they did not care about race when doing such a thing, only their conscience. Ding! Successfully killed an evil spirit race member, second stage star venerate. Experience gained. Obtained an evil spirit soul, evil spirit bone, and evil spirit blood. The familiar materials dropped again, allowing Xiaochen to strengthen the evil spirit puppets. The stronger the evil spirit puppets were, the more shocking the evil spirit race members he killed would be. You are all free now. Quickly leave this place. Take everything here with you. Take whatever you can. Leave as far as you can. Yi Tianyun looked around at the shocked cultivators, indicating for them to flee quickly. This place was safe for now. However, this was only temporary. If more evil spirit race members came, they would face danger. That woman knelt down and kowtowed continuously. Many thanks, benefactor. Many thanks. The child at the side was stunned at first. Then he knelt down and kowtowed as well. Many thanks to Big Brother for saving us. Then all the cultivators knelt down and kowtowed while crying. They finally saw hope. They thought that they would die here for the rest of their lives. Unexpectedly, someone came to save them. Yi Tianyun sighed and looked around. He didn't continue to stay here. He turned around and flew away without saying anything. This was the only thing he could help with. He couldn't help with anything else. As for whether they could escape, that would depend on their own luck. Mother, I will definitely work hard to cultivate like that Big Brother and protect Mother. The little boy clenched his fist as he looked at Yi Tianyun's back with a determined look on his face. I want to kill all of the evil spirit race and eradicate all of them. All of their mentalities had changed, and they would remember the evil spirit race for the rest of their lives. In the future, when their cultivation had a breakthrough, they would definitely join the team to kill the evil spirit race. Many of them had lost their loved ones, and they had no one to rely on. Once they had the ability, they would definitely join the team to kill the evil spirit race. After Tianyun left, he quickly switched to the evil spirit puppet and stuffed it with the materials he obtained from killing before, continuously strengthening it. The evil spirit puppet's level started to soar. As expected of a star venerate level evil spirit race material, the strengthening effect was rather shocking. Soon, it would reach peak star venerate level. If this continued, it would not be difficult to reach the earth venerate level. However, Xiaochun did not know if this puppet would have to endure the heavenly tribulation. These evil spirit race people deserve to die. Tianyun's gaze was cold as he continued flying forward. As he flew past the various distribution points, he discovered that there were many planets that enslaved cultivators. If they were not mining, they were planting spirit herbs. Their methods were basically the same, extremely cruel. Tianyun did not waste any time, directly flying down and killing. Fortunately, there were not many evil spirit race on these planets. Therefore, they were able to kill them in an instant when they were reporting the news. They did not even have the chance to report the news. Xiaochun killed crazily along the way, obtaining many evil spirit race materials and saving many people at the same time. Xiaochun was not a savior. He could only help out in passing, saving as many as he could. Along the way, Xiaochun discovered that this region was filled with mines. It could be said to be a production faction. The resources they obtained could be used to nurture their subordinates. It seemed that the reason they controlled Fanyu was not that they could not defeat the divine realm, but that this region was indeed more fertile. Although it was not in the divine realm, it was rather surprising that it could produce star stones. Continue to strengthen. Tianyun stuffed all the evil spirit race materials into the puppet. Just as he finished, he heard a sound. Ding! Evil spirit puppet has successfully leveled up to Earth Venerate. Boom! Following that, a heavenly tribulation began to appear in the sky. It seemed that there was really a heavenly tribulation, and it was not because it was a puppet that there was no heavenly tribulation. This heavenly tribulation is a little strange. He saw that the color of this heavenly tribulation was different from their tribulation. The heavenly tribulation that the evil spirit race faced was actually incomparably black. Black energy surged above, followed by countless black heavenly lightning bolts that were filled with evil energy. This was a completely different energy. It was not like the heavenly tribulation that they had to experience. It was filled with a destructive energy, a kind of bright energy, but this was evil. The evil spirit race is really a little special. The energy of the tribulation is different, and there are actually some changes. It seems that the evil spirit race is a little strange. This heavenly tribulation did not have the slightest meaning to him. He controlled the evil spirit puppet and threw a punch, directly blowing up the heavenly tribulation. Following that, evil energy descended and strengthened the evil spirit puppet's body, further strengthening it. After the strengthening was completed, Tianyun discovered that the evil spirit puppet had greatly improved, much stronger than ordinary cultivators. Especially in terms of physique, it was more than 2 times stronger than ordinary cultivators, which was shocking. No wonder it was a little difficult for him to deal with the evil spirit race. Their foundation was originally rather special, so it was naturally not easy to deal with them. Why does the evil spirit race have such a special energy? Tianyun's eyes flashed. According to the rankings, the evil spirit race bloodline was not at the top, but it had such a strange effect, which made him a little puzzled. No matter what, this allowed him to understand the situation further. It seemed that his choice to infiltrate here was correct. He wanted to see the real inside story of the evil spirit race. Chapter 1188. Evil Moon City, a relatively large evil spirit race city in Fanyu. It was similar to a city in the imperial capital. In the entire Fanyu, there were only 3 cities at the level of the evil spirit race. Tianyun was currently heading towards the evil moon city, a base where countless evil spirit races were gathered. If a cultivator were to barge in, he would definitely die. Even if he didn't die, he would definitely be captured as a slave and slaughtered at will. When a tall and sturdy figure appeared outside the evil moon city, the evil spirit race at the side casually glanced over. When they felt the evil and powerful aura, they couldn't help but reveal respectful gazes. The evil spirit race looked around, but none of the evil spirit race doubted him in the slightest. Some even nodded respectfully at him, expressing their etiquette. However, this evil spirit race was not the real deal, but Yi Tianyun's puppet. Controlling this evil spirit race puppet, he did not suspect anything at all when he came here. There were a lot of evil spirit races coming and going in the surroundings, many times more than the evil spirit races he had encountered when he first came here. After coming here, Yi Tianyun felt that he had truly stepped into the territory of the evil spirit race. There was no force outside at all. The evil moon city in front of him was extremely strange. A crimson moon hung high above the evil moon city, and an unending stream of energy sprinkled down in all directions. In fact, this was a core filled with an evil aura, a core that possessed a strong dark attribute energy. Not only that, there was a dark attribute core embedded in the depths of the evil moon city, which could strengthen the evil spirit races that stayed here by quite a bit. Even an ordinary divine domain would not be able to provide such a perfect cultivation ground. In fact, the density of the star power in the divine domain mostly depended on the situation of the core. If there were more cores and they continuously released energy, the concentration of star power in the divine domain would naturally not be low. Now that the evil moon city had a core here, there was no need to worry about a lack of energy supply. Especially not just one. There were many cores embedded in the surrounding planets, and there were more than 10 of them here. It was very difficult for ordinary planets to form a core, but they had more than 10 cores here. This reminded him of the time when the evil spirit race was constantly searching for the core. They wanted to move the core over and build this place into an extremely perfect cultivation ground. Due to the large number of cores, they were much more generous than the other gods' domains. It could be said that they were free to absorb without any restrictions. This evil spirit race is really generous. Yi Tianyun's gaze turned cold. Seeing so many cores, it meant that the evil spirit race's plundering was very terrifying. It could be said that they had plundered Fan Yu's core. No wonder he stayed at Fan Yu's place. He kept searching for the core, which was much more leisurely than staying in the divine domain. The key was that there was an abundance of time here. Staying here for several years was equivalent to a year in the divine realm. For others, they could slow down their tribulation transcendence in the divine domain, so they did not dare to casually stay outside the Fan Yu. To the evil spirit race, with the support of so many cores, their cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. After stabilizing their cultivation, why would they be afraid of not being able to transcend the tribulation? Immediately, Yi Tianyun understood why most of the factions were placed in Fan Yu. They could produce a large number of experts. They could also make use of the natural time difference to continuously raise their overall strength. No wonder so many deity domains did not dare to casually provoke them. Even if they tore off a piece of their flesh, they did not dare to take revenge and could only swallow their anger. Just the densely packed star venerates here looked very large. Among them, there were an explosive number of holy rulers at the level of Fan Yu. No wonder back then, when they sent people to attack, it was like they did not need money, continuously sending people over. Although there were many star venerates, the number decreased sharply from the Earth Monarch level. That was to say, there was only one Earth Monarch among 10,000 evil spirit race members. There were very few high-level Earth Monarchs. Based on the heavenly tribulation, Shaochen felt that the heavenly tribulation was indeed very difficult. It was not that easy to clear. It was also a heavenly tribulation, but it was much stronger than a cultivator's. Correspondingly, after clearing it, the strengthening effect would be greater. There were pros and cons. No wonder the other evil spirit race members were very respectful when they sensed his aura along the way. Just based on his cultivation, his status was definitely not low. This was for Fan Yu. If it was for a deity domain, This cultivation would definitely not be enough. There were very few Earth monarchs here, but that did not mean that there were none. As there were many of them, there were still quite a lot of them. Among them, there were many Earth monarchs above the 3rd or 4th refinement. There were very few Earth monarchs above the 4th or 5th refinement. There was basically no one above the 7th or 8th refinement. Either they were not here, or it was very difficult for the evil spirit race to reach this level. As for those at the level of the Lord of Heaven, they were basically in the depths of Evil Moon City. On the whole, the factions here were considered to be above average among rank 1 deity domains. At a glance, although they were all evil spirit race members, Xiaochen could tell at a glance that many of them were mixed breeds. They had bred with other races. However, they all looked extremely ferocious. Their entire bodies were pitch black. If they provoked each other, they would not hesitate to start a war. The evil spirit race advocated combat prowess. They did not care about the life and death of their companions. Lianyun flew down, landed outside the Evil Moon City, and slowly walked in. No one stopped him along the way. He felt like he was returning home. After entering, what greeted his eyes were many evil spirit races. Among them, there were also many cultivators who were imprisoned and branded with slave imprints. They either followed the evil spirit race or served the evil spirit race at the side. They had no dignity at all. It was clearly a city of the evil spirit race, but the number of cultivators in it was no less than half. After capturing so many slaves, not only could they serve themselves, but they could also help with their work, so why not? Thus, it was not surprising that more than half of this place was occupied by cultivators. They all had slave imprints, so there was no need to worry about them rebelling. Trash, hurry up and leave. The evil spirit race beside him suddenly grabbed a cultivator and threw him forward. He rolled a few times on the ground and did not get up again. It seemed like he had fainted. This looks pretty delicious. Let me eat him. The evil spirit race in front grabbed the cultivator and threw him into his mouth, directly swallowing the cultivator. Say, the taste is not bad. You actually ate my slave. The evil spirit race was furious. He ate as soon as he said he would, not holding back at all. The other party directly threw a few star stones over and said with a smile, "Calm down, isn't it just a slave? This is the fee for you." After receiving the star stone, the evil spirit race did not care about anything. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.